Okay, let's get started.
Just raise your glasses high. This one's for
Amy.
Riley.
We're closer on this couch. You ever notice that?
Yeah, it's petite.
It's much closer than we ever are, right?
Yeah.
Because even at my couch at home, which seems smaller than your couch, your traditional couch, this is closer.
We're face to face.
It's a little. What's that called when you're too close to someone and you're looking in their eyes?
Comfort.
What'd you say?
Too close for comfort.
Yeah, a little bit. But obviously I like staring at you in the face, but it's just like, look how close we are.
Yeah, it's intimate.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a little like you can't. There's no distance here. It's like we're really talking,
Yeah.
right?
Some people know, but I'm staying in an Airbnb right now, and every single item of furniture is from IKEA, including like the bed, the chairs, the couch, like everything. And gotta say, it's not the best.
Oh, you don't like this IKEA furniture?
I feel like if I move too fast or hard, it will all break.
Oh, yeah. I mean, while I was just reorienting myself before the episode, I think I broke the back of your couch.
It does I think it's modular. It does something weird. I think it like Velcros off or something.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I thought I for sure broke this couch. But I do love, this new little beautiful, Airbnb that you're at.
Yeah, it's a little hobbit hole. I do quite like it here, but yeah, it sucks. My old bed was a great bed, and so now we're both on a smaller. It's like a queen, which I don't know how you guys roll, but we were a California king household.
California king, my God!
I could roll like 7 times and never touch Jimmy, which is preferred.
Oh, you don't want to touch him. I understand. I've only slept in a California king maybe once or twice in my life when I was at the King's Palace. No, it was at a hotel in Cambria, and they had a California king. And me and my wife, I mean, I was like, whoa, we have like 5 feet in between us.
Yeah.
We could it's a different experience.
Yeah, it's great. We had to have, so California, I believe, is longer and Eastern is wider. And we had to get California because our old bed was in a nook.
Oh, wait, is that true? California kings are longer?
Yeah, because
Oh.
our bed fit exactly into a nook, and I had originally ordered the Eastern, and then I got home from the store and was like, oh shit, no, we need California, and switched it because the Eastern would have been a couple inches too wide. There's not too much difference. Honestly, California king, I feel like, has this reputation that it's like so much more baller, but like it's just a matter of like if it's wider or longer.
Okay, so but when you're saying that you and Jimmy don't have to touch it all at night, that's still a wider bed, right?
I mean, king is
huge. Already, I've been living a queen's life.
So snug.
I'll tell you. Yeah, I mean, you didn't ask about me and my wife sleeping, but we there's not much space, especially with a dog in the bed. We sleep with a little Archie in the bed. It's like it's a mess.
Yeah,
at night.
It's so much smaller than I remembered. Like I was like, queen's only a little smaller than a king, and I was like, what is this, a full?
Right, when you're back on what you're in now, right?
Yeah.
So wait, why did Californians need a longer bed? I would want a wider bed, like Easterners.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. Maybe Californians are taller.
Yeah. Okay. That makes
I'm
sense
tall.
to me. Yeah.
I'm a Cali girl.
Me too. How tall are you? I've never asked.
5'10".
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm 6'2", I think.
Cool.
Well, that was awesome.
Do you think Ken and Lisa have a bed that's even bigger than a king? Like a custom? Do you think they sleep on like a round bed? Or like a heart-shaped bed?
Okay, so yeah, you just said heart-shaped bed. That seems to me the most likely. But also I was thinking Lisa and Ken might not want a huge bed because they want to be closer to each other and be able to touch.
Yeah, snuggle.
Right?
Yeah.
That's so sweet. Do you ever picture that?
Them snuggling when I close my eyes.
Well, I mean, the one time when we went into Villa Rosa and we saw them taking a nap, they were cuddling. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. And then on the new episode this week, we got some footage of Ken taking a nap.
I know, did you like that?
It was funny.
Yeah, I like that too. Well, good. I mean, sleeping habits and everything is so interesting when you really think about it, right? Can I say, I don't want to out where you live now, but
you can say the neighborhood.
Yeah. What is this neighborhood called?
Beechwood Canyon.
Okay. Can I say what notable people that now we're sort of in the same, breathing the same air as?
Yeah.
Stassi and Bo.
It's true.
And we don't want to, I don't also want to let people know where they live because I don't want them to.
I feel like they're open about living in the Hollywood Hills.
Right. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, people know where they live. But anyway, it's just kind of nice. Like, we just walk around your Airbnb and you see Stassi and Bo walking around. It's kind of sweet.
Yeah, just like, hey, neighbor.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Everywhere we go, we're sort of kind of close to the Vanderpump Rules universe.
It's important. I'm closer than ever to Schwartz and Sandy's.
Yeah. Have you dipped in?
I haven't gone yet. I'm always kind of confused about when they're open.
Oh, right. It's like you don't know what day or what hour or whatever.
But I could walk.
They're doing watch parties now on
Yeah,
Tuesday.
maybe I should go next week. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll
What do
let
you think the last 3 times I've been, the vibes have been like not fun.
Like dead?
Dead, and also the way people like the people that are around Sandoval now are people that are not behaving properly, because he's not in good stature or whatever. That the people that want to be Sandoval's hanger-ons now have weird energy. You know, it's like because he's not embraced by the world, so the people that like want to be around him now are the people that like want to take advantage of the fact that he's in a low place and like they hope that they can like be friends with him. So there's always just sort of, I don't know how to describe that energy, but it's sort of like, you know, that they for the most part don't have good intentions because it hasn't been redeemed in the public space.
Yeah.
And so that's what it felt, because we went to the holiday party, Schwartz and Sandy's holiday party, and it was just kind of bad energy in there. And I think that even Schwartz's good energy can't counter Sandoval's sort of negative energy, at least now, for the time being.
Yeah, I need to go scope it for myself. I don't know how I would feel to see Sandoval in the wild these days. I was thinking about it when they were showing that footage of him at the airport, and I was like, I feel like seeing him now is like seeing a Sasquatch or something where you're like,
yeah, that's what Schwartz said. Krypton, remember?
Oh, right. Cryptid.
Yeah, cryptid. Oh, yeah, cryptid. Yeah, but anyway, well, I mean, I think you should, since you're so close, you should just scope out the vibe at the watch party and just see what it's like, even if you dipped in and just see like how, I don't know. It's, I guess, like, I don't feel uncomfortable going to Schwartz and Sandy's, even though you're, I guess, supporting half of
cheater.
A cheater. But it is like, I guess, the people that have accepted Sandoval already, I don't know. I guess it's like until he's redeemed in public society, the people that like want to be his friend and like are like are trying to be around him. Like, you're kind of suspicious
Desperate.
of that activity, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, I'll let you guys know what happens if I go. My goal is to get Schwartz to gift me a new Schwartz and Sandy's hat because mine was lost.
That is probably like you could just expect that will happen. Like, if you tell him the story, like, you're getting.
But then if it doesn't, that would suck so bad.
He would.
He's like, it's only $40.
I can't even imagine a world where he would say.
He brings out like
buy
an iPad.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. And he's like, we use Square here.
Yeah. I think he would. I feel like if I know him, like I think I do, he would be very nice about it and give you one.
I think so. They have cute stuff, actually. The like ashtray and the shot glasses are cute.
I haven't seen any of their stuff.
It's cute.
Okay.
I liked my hat from there. I wore it until it was shameful to wear it.
I know. Yeah. I mean, when is it ever going to feel right to go to that bar again and not feel guilty?
I know, it feels like wearing like a MAGA hat kind of now. Like you're doing it to be a little stinker.
What? Yeah, oh, totally. Yeah, it's like, what is that? You're indignant?
Yeah, you're like, fuck you, I do what I want.
Yeah.
Don't tread on me.
Yeah, it's sort of, well, wait, don't tread on me is good. That's what we said to the British, right?
Yeah, but it has kind of nasty connotations now. When you see one of those flags, it's akin to a MAGA flag.
Don't tread on me is?
Yes.
And we've already talked about this, but that's not the one where the snake is separated. That's join or die.
There is a snake. Don't tread on me.
Don't tread on. I always see the one where it's the original colonies and they're all the snake and it's cut them all up.
Where do you see those?
I always see that when I watch John Adams,
like
or
in
whatever.
Silver Lake.
I see people with tattoos of it where it's like North Carolina. Or, you know what I'm talking about? That snake image, and that one says "Don't tread on me."
The "Don't tread on me" flag is yellow and has a snake that's like.
And it doesn't have the colonies chopped up?
I don't know.
Okay, wow.
Usually when I see it, I run.
Me too, but that original sentiment was nice. It was get the British out of here, right?
Sure. But as you know, things that are old and people that are still into them is sometimes bad.
Anyone who's too
Attached
much
to the
enjoys
original-
the early American iconography.
Yes.
I still get mad at the British every once in a while, but only in a way where I'm like, you were taxing us too damn much.
Yeah.
And we had to get.
You should see Hamilton.
What is it about taxes?
Well, it's like King George, and he's like a stinker.
Don't get me started. King George, one of the worst.
He's nuts.
I hated that king. I mean, I love the current king, but that King George, like they were trying to tax us without representation, right? They put a
Yeah.
huge tax on our tea and coffee, which
my
we
God.
loved at the colonies.
Oh my God. One time in my childhood, we went to Boston and we did the Boston tea. Sorry, again, not related to the Tea Party of modern day.
Oh no, this is the good one, right?
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. All right.
But we went on like the Boston Tea Party tour, and you got to like, they had faux tea like on a rope that you could toss over for your photos.
Oh, fake tea?
Like it was like boxes on ropes that you could be like, I'm throwing the tea over.
That's so cool.
Let's go to Boston.
I want to do that. I want to drink a Sam Adams beer
yeah.
at one of those original pubs or
We'll
whatever.
do the like Independence Hall tour, like the trail, whatever that's called.
They should have a British soldier that's dressed up like a red coat, and they should have one that like he says like, I want to tax you more, and you get to yell
Give
at
him a noogie.
Yeah, like you get to, and it's totally like it's in jest
Yeah.
and it's fun and performative, but he's just like Uncle or what's it? Not Uncle Sam. Sorry, that's our tax
Yeah.
guy. King
Yeah.
George is like, King George wants to tax you, and we're like, shut up. Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Yeah, and then we could go to Cheers.
What is that? Where the bar is?
Yeah, it's like right there.
I want to go to Boston so bad. If I have not traveled in years.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I think now I might start. Well, I don't
Let's
know
go.
actually, but yeah,
I know
Boston,
we need to get you drugs and get you on a plane.
I know I'm really close to getting my doctor to allow me to have Xanax. It's just a couple more emails of saying how afraid I am of flight. I keep sending him the Boeing stuff. I keep saying, you know what I'm talking about? I keep
You're
saying,
blowing up his email.
I just say, have you seen the news lately? There's something weird going on with Boeing, and then I just hope it's like I already told you I take a beta blocker, and it doesn't do anything
No.
for my anxiety. It just slows down my heart rate, but my brain still thinks I'm gonna die on this plane.
Well, I'm sure if you nonstop email your doctor, he'll believe you that you're crazy.
Yeah, I would love just a nice prescribed Xanax. It sounds.
I think we can make it happen.
Really.
I've heard it's not that hard.
Well, my doctor is like a stickler. I don't want to say his name on the pod in case because I know he listens, but he's a little bit of a stinker about giving
I
me
get
extra
it.
stuff.
It's, you know.
I'm not habit forming. I'm
Yeah.
not. He's worried. He obviously says you look like someone who has a habit forming.
But he could give you like 6 pills.
I know. Yes, just for the 6 flights that I would take in 3 years.
Yeah.
He gave me. I love saying all my prescriptions, but when I broke my back, you remember when I fell down the
God.
boat and I broke my
Yeah.
back? I got hydrocodone.
Oh, right.
OxyContin or hydrocodone. I haven't even taken all of them yet.
Yeah.
So isn't that the best example of me?
Yeah,
not
be like,
being look at these 4 pills that I've saved. So
You're like, I'm not going to be Lil Xan.
no, I would never do that. He doesn't know me like that. I've only met him 4 times and it's spaced out once a year, so he doesn't truly know me.
You need to find like the John Mulaney doctor he'll
one
just give you whatever you want.
Yeah. Oh, I like that story. When he was just like going up to some guy's random apartment and the guy was like, "Take off your shirt." That's
Yeah.
great. That was a good.
It's wild that some doctors just are like that.
I know. Mine's not like that. He's part of
That's
the
good.
Kaiser family. Yeah, I trust him for the most part. Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
But you're right. We're going to have a travel era, and I want to go to Boston. I want to throw the tea bag
Yeah.
and sort of recreate the initial impetus for why we decided to separate from Britain.
Yeah. Maybe we can go on a tour one day to very small theaters, like 30 people.
Yeah.
And-
You're talking about a Turtle Time tour?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to do that. Turtle Time in Boston.
Turtle Time Live in the park.
Oh, I would love that. Anybody who wants to come to the park can just
Venmo us.
Yeah, and
$10.
then Megan, yeah, they have to Venmo us, or Megan has like a top hat or some sort of old timey hat in
Yeah.
Boston to just collect money
Yeah.
from anybody. Who goes to-
Coins. Shillings.
Shillings. I would like that. We could do a South Carolina one too, because I want to go to Charleston probably
Yes.
more than life itself as well.
For sure.
So what's it called? South Carolina in the park.
Yeah.
Charleston in the park.
Yes. Maybe Central Park.
Central Park would be big for us. That have you ever seen that Central Park documentary by that guy Frederick Wiseman who does those really slow documentaries where nothing happens? Oh, it's really good. It talks about just like what Central Park is used for every single day. It's like there are 1,000 different like events that happen every single day.
It's massive.
Yeah, it's like massive and beautiful. And it's like all the people that use Central Park for all the various things. He just spends like weeks there just documenting how much life happens at Central Park and all the weird uses.
That's
So I think if he ever does an additional one where he wants to do an addendum and he captures turtle time in the park, that would be really fun.
Yeah.
And maybe we do half like Shakespeare recreation with just you and I so that some people get that for their money's worth. And then also we do a little turtle time talk.
Yeah. It would look like, have you seen the footage of Diana Ross's concert in Central Park when it rained? And it was like, I don't know, like 100,000 people were there or something. And it rained and she kept performing anyways. And it's like her like outfit's like blowing in the wind. It's iconic.
Oh, I saw Garth Brooks do it.
Oh yeah. He had like the most people of all time, right?
He said, I mean, yeah, he's very humble in this documentary, but he says it's the most people that have ever gathered.
I think he's your enemy.
You're right. I don't like Garth Brooks. And the reason is because I didn't know anything about this guy except that he did that Chris Gaines, where he became that sort of an emo guy because he wanted to make music that was more rock oriented, but not sully his reputation as a country artist. And anyway, so I only knew about that, but I didn't understand his popularity. But then when you watch this A&E Garth Brooks documentary, he is one of the most narcissistic monsters I've ever seen captured on camera. But every answer he says, he makes it like it's the most meaningful, emotional thing that he's ever said in his life. He'll be like, and then my dad told me, wear your hat forward, son, because country artists always have their hat facing frontwards. And then you'll start breaking down crying, and it's like, what the hell are you talking about? And he makes every single statement he says in his life like it's the most meaningful, powerful thing, and he cries. And I'm no offense to people who cry. I cry all the time, but he cries like, I think, crocodile tears 10 times. And he's not humble at all. He goes, I had the most people ever, and they said that people couldn't even get to Central Park because they wanted to get there so bad. But he starts crying to make it seem like he's touched by it instead of a full-blown brag.
You were really affected by it. I need to watch it because you've brought it up like 10 times, and so I feel like you really probably hate him more than anyone.
Nothing has ever shocked me more than to realize what Garth Brooks is actually like after not knowing anything about him.
Con artist.
He's never written any of his own songs, so his full which okay, people, obviously artists do that, but he is so intertwined with the legacy of his music that you wouldn't imagine that he's a person that doesn't write his own songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think you take for granted that,
especially country is kind of a songwriter's medium, you would think.
Yeah, it's like you have to discount him a little bit. If Willie Nelson writes all of his songs and Garth Brooks doesn't write his songs, you have to. There's some differentiation between the talent of these artists.
Right.
Anyway, enough about Garth Brooks. I don't even know why I brought him up. But you're right. He is someone that I actively disdain. And he even tried to make the Chris Gaines thing a cool thing because he goes, well, guess what happened right after Chris Gaines? Beyonce became Sasha Fierce. And I'm like, take that back. No one used Chris Gaines as an impetus for why they wanted to branch out and become a different style of artist.
I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn for the Beehive, but I don't think anyone really thinks that was like that cool that she did that.
Yeah, what did happen?
I mean, it was a cool idea in the sense that like the album had two different perspectives. Like she got like it had like the fun, funky side, and then like the more like down to earth, like
who
soulful
was
side.
Sasha Fierce?
I think it's just like her party persona.
Okay, so she wanted an excuse to make more pop oriented music, but wanted her fans to know that there's a difference here, like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of what she's doing now, but she doesn't have to become new characters to do it. She's just letting her audience know I'm trying different genres.
Different facets. But yeah, like she doesn't talk about. She kind of left Sasha Fierce in the lurch.
Did she ever portray Sasha Fierce like in any interviews or like?
I don't think she had like a persona, like a speaking persona. At least, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know, but it's kind of funny, that name.
Sasha Fierce.
Yeah.
I think it's really outdated and out the window of an artist thinking.
What was that? 2007.
Yeah, it's like I think that they thought that their audience wouldn't couldn't fathom that they would make a different genre of music, and so they had to create a full alter ego to, I don't know, I think that's what David Bowie did, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's the OG.
but Taylor Swift, not to bring it to Taylor Swift, but she gets to just do whatever genre she wants. I mean, it's all like Taylor Swift coded, obviously, but she gets to just play around with whatever she wants. If folklore is
Yeah.
more folk oriented, then she has a Jack Antonoff pop, and her fans just go along with her. They're like,
Right.
this artist does a lot of different shit.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we can handle that.
Me too. Well, good. Well, I'm glad we spent 20 minutes talking about Garth Brooks, the Boston Tea Party, South Carolina, and everything else.
Yes. I feel like there was not too much Bravo news this week.
No. I mean, I want to say what the big news was, but I don't want to talk about it too long.
Right.
But since we last spoke, you and I, Brandi Glanville accused Andy Cohen of one time FaceTiming her while he was out with Kate Chastain. That's her name, right? Kate
Below Deck.
Below Deck?
Yeah.
Her last name's Chastain, right? Okay, Kate Chastain. And they FaceTimed Brandi, and they were drunk as hell. Or they left a video message for her.
Oh, okay.
And they were drunk, and they said, hey, Brandi, me and Kate are going to have sex together tonight, and we're going to be thinking of you the entire time.
Okay.
Did you hear that part?
I didn't really delve into the details, but
okay.
That makes sense. And
But then Brandi said, like, without that context, which I don't know if you need context. People can argue if you need context. But she said, I received a video message from Andy saying that he was going to have sex with another Bravo cast member, and he was going to think about me the whole time. And she said she was disgusted and horrified and didn't know how to function after that, knowing that this was her boss.
when was this?
I'm
Was
not
it while
sure.
she was on a show?
Yeah, she was actively employed, because
Okay.
this would have been probably between her Beverly Hills era and then Ultimate Girl Trip season 2. So Brandi, she was still in the ether.
I see. Okay.
But well, sorry, and then just to finish, but then Andy said it was Kate Chastain. We were drunk, and it was clearly a joke. And Brandi indicated when she received the message that she understood it as a joke.
Yeah. He did apologize, though, on
But he did
Instagram.
say, he said it's inappropriate, and I apologize.
Yeah. And then, okay. So it's like, I don't want to sound like a cuck for Andy by like defending that, because if it was anyone else, I'd be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree. I thought with no context, it sounded very bad, and I thought for a second, is this the end of Andy Cohen?
Right.
Because it's if with no context, it sounds much worse.
Right. Yeah. If like Les Moonves did that, you'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds horrific. I was worried, but then when say what you're gonna say.
No, I mean, it's just, okay, but having 10 or 15 years of however long Brandi joined Beverly Hills, knowing her irreverent sense of humor, and she's the queen of making people uncomfortable and saying fucked up shit like that, probably to a worse degree to people that aren't interested in that type of humor.
Right.
Like all she ever talked about was how she wanted to fuck Ken, how she wants to fuck Andy's dad.
Yeah.
Like that's her whole thing. That's
Right.
like that was obviously tailor made for her humor, which
Yes.
one could say, if you're smart as a boss, you kind of, the part that sucks is that you don't get to do that anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree. Something about knowing Brandi's personality and knowing her sense of humor, and then Andy saying Brandi at the time knew that it was a joke that I would be having sex with Kate, and
Right.
would be thinking about her. It's like, knowing Brandi, I'm like, I do believe that she would have laughed at that and considered it funny at any other point, in her life. Like,
No,
it's
she
just
would
irreverent.
like be like lit up about that. Like in his books and stuff, I feel like he brings up that there's that ongoing joke. If you've watch What Happens for 10 plus years, every time she comes, she flirts with Andy's dad and like kisses him on the cheek.
Wow.
And it's like a whole thing.
Brain coded.
Yeah. And yeah, like I just said, like Ken and Lisa, like the joke the entire time she was on the show was that she was going to fuck Ken.
I loved that joke.
It's funny.
Yeah, I thought it was sweet.
And then obviously now she's reached the echelon where she got sued for being inappropriate, which when you read that stuff, you're like, it sounded bleak.
Yeah.
The stuff that she did to Caroline.
Yeah.
because she was an unwilling participant, which I guess you could say Brandy is claiming she was an unwilling participant in this joke. But it's just kind of weird because I assume Andy would only ever make a joke like that if they were on good terms.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's hard to talk about because you want to take every, accusation seriously, but just for some reason, knowing Brandy and where she's at now and knowing this is post you getting sued.
Right.
It's like
she's trying to be like, well, if you guys are going to call me inappropriate and disgusting, then I'm going to turn it back on you.
Yeah. And then, knowing Andy Cohen like we seemingly do, like it does sound like an Andy type joke to pretend like he's going to have sex with, Kate and think about Brandy. It's like sounds.
Then it's like, do we have to do a forensic accounting for every time he's done something inappropriate? Like he made out with Tamra on Watch What Happens Live at New Year's, and I'm like, that's iconic and funny, and they both did it and whatever. But if it was anyone else, it factors in that he's a gay man, so it's not like there was whatever. Yeah. It's just so like it's like
I was thinking
really
right. Oh, I was thinking like he says in Daddy Diaries, he's like, I had a sex dream about Craig and I told him on the train to Delaware that I had a sex dream. It's like that's dicey,
right?
Like that's dicey. Like,
but like reading it, I never for a second thought it was dicey.
Right. No, I'm saying like,
but it's
all
like
these stories,
if you view it through like a courtroom lens, then everything is on the table as inappropriate.
And then Mr. Conover, what did he say to you? And it's like, it sounds horrible. I guess
he told me he was sitting on the seat next to me, so I couldn't escape.
Right.
I was going to visit my parents, and he appeared and told me that he jacked off to me.
Right.
He said he didn't.
No, I mean, I would say advice moving forward that I guess just even no matter how friendly you are with certain Bravo celebrities in the universe, I know we like that fun, cheeky humor, and that's what he's so good at. But there are situations where like that is going to be detrimental to him at some point if he continues on, unless it's someone that he really truly trusts to have that sense of humor with, like Kyle Richards. I'm sure that they have years of history. And
he has years of history with Brandy. That's the thing.
I know.
So
it's like you never know who's going to turn on you.
Right? Like Bethany, they were so close, and now she's using everything he's ever done against him. So it's like, who can he trust? And it's like certain things that, I'm sure if they want to make the Reality Reckoning documentary, they can pull everything of all time and make it look terrible. And it's like, like his ramshackle show that was like in a broom closet in 2010 like did shit that they probably wouldn't do now, but I don't know.
I guess I mean, context matters. That's like my main point, or like the main thing I can take away, because that story isolated with no context sounded horrific. And then when you hear the context, I'm like, Brandy, I don't believe that you were genuinely offended by that. I think if I trust that you took that in its original manner, which was a joke.
Right.
And that now, because of your circumstances, you're just trying to get back and use salacious details back at the network that spurned you. Brandy, though, is, in my opinion, Brandy is probably the best evidence of the Reality Reckoning, or the biggest victim of the Reality Reckoning, because Brandy did curtail negative, or did adapt her behavior on the show to what she thought producers wanted from her. Like, it was she was embedded with this, but also I feel like she was like a bomb that producers could throw, because they knew Brandy had she was so charismatic, she was so funny, she was so smart, quick-witted, that she adapted to what she knew producers wanted from her. And then the minute that culture started to change, she was sort of a victim of what what she thought producers wanted from her by the time Ultimate Girls Trip Season 2 happened. So she spiraled and did the sexual humor like she would have done with Jill Zarin. Jill Zarin's so buttoned up, I'd love to start smacking her on the ass and give her a lap dance. Yeah. And they did that all over UGT Season 2. They gave there was a full night where they just give lap dances to each other. Mm-hmm. And then when she does that to Caroline Manzo, it's the one participant who like does not like that type of humor
Yeah.
at all. But Brandy thought that she was, in a way, performing for the producers. And I feel like even though it's like it's on her completely, now that behavior is frowned upon, now she loses her job, she loses everything, they'll never hire her back. Like, you know, do you get what I'm saying a little bit?
Yeah.
It's like,
I do feel like even historically she had issues with boundaries. Like,
she did.
every time she would do something outrageous, it would immediately go south. Like when she threw a glass of wine in Eileen's
Awful.
face, when she slapped LVP
Yes.
in Amsterdam or whatever. Like it was always like, what's wrong with you? Like even then when she was still beloved or she would be forgiven, everyone was still like, huh?
Yeah, like she did some of the worst things you've
girl.
ever seen.
Yeah. So it's not surprising that if she's been sort of run ragged over the past 10 years, that she maybe lost track of even what boundaries she did have.
Right. And you can make the case that this was all Brandy's, you know, inspiration. Like everything that she did on camera was, she thought that's what producers wanted, but it was really coming from her. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I do feel like I feel a little bad for Brandy that now she's in this state where like they'll never hire her again. And really what she did was she thought this like sexy, silly shit that she's done with 99% of people would like work on Caroline Manzo. And we haven't seen the footage, so it could be like so much worse. And I assume it is bad.
It sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, it sounds really bad. And like Caroline Manzo did not want that. And like, it's,
I mean, I just feel like it should be pretty clear if someone's like desperately trying to run away from you and like lock themselves in a bathroom, like why would you keep going back?
And I guess it sounds like I'm excusing Brandy's behavior. I'm not, but I just know that Bravo, you know, let her on television through a lot of heinous actions, and I know that they enjoyed her. Like I enjoyed 90% of what Brandy did up until a certain point. So I just feel like she is sort of what's that called? Like she's a little bit of a victim of the character.
Like they spit her out.
Yeah, they spit her out.
Spit her out.
Like she deserves. Brandy deserves. People hate Brandy, so it's like, whoa, God, they're gonna hate me talking like this. But I really enjoyed Brandy, and I think she's a good person.
Yeah, her early days, plus her. We must give credit where credit's due for her being the pinnacle of the crossover for Vanderpump Rules.
For sure, totally. And I mean, she made Beverly Hills what it was at a certain point. When she came in at season 3,
she was like a La figure where everyone was like, who the fuck is this? And they were so pissed off and like, she's vulgar.
Oh, it broke Kyle's brain when she saw
they were
Brandy.
like, she's disgusting. Because
so,
she said like F words and like pussy and cunt and stuff, and everyone was like, ah.
She was the first one to say that Adrienne Maloof was a surrogate, right? And they couldn't even air it. You remember?
Oh yeah, that was like they never said it out loud.
Yeah, it was like she was the bomb thrower, and I think
that was the scariest time because Paul was so mad that he was bordering on being like a scary man and yelling at her, and I was like, Paul, don't go too far. I love you.
Paul, go back in that tree and put on that tree outfit. I think that Brandy, I think she deserves like an hour special with Andy. I know you would never do this, but I just think like when you're closing the chapter on someone,
need to do with her, with Nene, with Bethany.
I think so. I mean, these
all
are
three.
These are figures that Bravo, not created, but they are very powerful figures in the Bravo universe. And now that they're spurned and they're like leveling all these accusations, like, and Bravo is so about talking about shit to death to get to the bottom of it and try to rebuild that it might be worth talking to these people. I mean, Nene, I know, wants to come back. It's not the same as Bethany and Brandy.
Leah McSweeney doesn't get the sit down.
No, Leah, you do not. She did not earn. Unfortunately, she did not earn. She was not a favorite of anyone, and she doesn't have the legacy of these other Bravo figures, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes when I'm defending NBC Universal, I just watched last week Michael Mann's The Insider.
Oh, I love it.
Big Tobacco. I'm like, I feel like sometimes I'm like, I'm like, shut your fucking mouth about how the sausage is made. Like,
who's Russell Crowe?
yeah, and Al Pacino.
Yeah. Oh my God. So like Bethany is Al Pacino, Russell Crowe is Liam McSweeney, and we're like, shut
There's
the hell
like
up.
people showing up at her house, like putting like a bullet in the mailbox.
I'm
They're like,
excited.
shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, we're defending the man right now. We're defending well, it's like we're defending cigarettes. We're like,
Yeah.
I love smoking cigarettes.
Andy is Michael Gambon, who's like the CEO of the cigarette company.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
he's
God.
like, I didn't know that cigarettes made you sick.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, I love the insider. I'm so glad you brought it up. Everybody's
But I feel like, yeah, like I'm like the whistleblowers. I'm like trying to silence the whistleblowers.
it's so true. We're like the villains in the insider. But
I'm like, cigarettes are fun. Shut up.
It's really true. But I think I have to hope that Bravo content and Andy Cohen are better people and they're producing better content than cigarettes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing is like I could go on and on, but it's like I feel like a monster being like, you signed up for this, especially like I can understand if like people are talking about early days of like they didn't know what they were getting into, but by the modern times, everyone knows what's happening. And Bethany's always like, they profit off of like bankruptcy, divorce, like crime, bad behavior, whatever. I'm like, yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to reality. Welcome to Earth. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
what are you talking about?
I know. Yeah. I mean,
like,
I think, yeah, I mean, I think newer people to this world are not expecting to have their real life put out there and have people actually come for them in a way that is going to potentially ruin their life, and that's sort of what everyone is invested in Bravo content for.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the path forward is. I
don't know. I just get pissed off because I'm like, especially with Bethany, because I'm like, it is biting the hand that fed her, which I think she'll admit, and she's like, I don't care. But I'm like, it cheapens the whole enterprise because I'm like, there's that footage of, I think it was on that thing I brought up last week that on season 10 of Roni, they did like a retrospective Watch What Happens where they interviewed like everyone that had been on to that point and like reviewed like how far they'd come and what it was like and whatever. And Bethany literally starts weeping, thanking Andy for changing her life. Like they hug, like she like gets out of her chair and hugs him. She's like, it's unbelievable, like where my life has led thanks to you. Like this changed everything for me. Like I'm really thankful, all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not saying she needs to like grovel at his feet or whatever. Like she earned it too. But I'm like, don't fucking pretend like your entire success story wasn't buoyed by this experience. And I'm like, we saw the reason why Bravo is superior to all the rest is because it actually has like a ethos, and there's, you know, emotion, there's moments in people's lives that are interesting outside of just like bullshit toxic stuff. Like we care about the marriages, the bankruptcies, like all of it. Like I over the years like deeply care about these people and relate to them and care. So it's not just like cheap. Like it's not just like garbage. Otherwise I wouldn't really give a shit.
You're right. Let's leave it there. That was well said and beautiful.
Fired up. Every time we talk about Reality Reckoning, I get so mad.
I love it. There's nothing more I can say. I think that makes sense to me, and that's why I enjoy Bravo as well. And there's a lot of benefit and merit to this universe, and that's why we're talking about it every week.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
do you want to? I don't really want to spend too much time on the Valley because I want to get into Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
But we watched that trailer together
Yes.
right before, and I'll say my thoughts first, and then I'll ask you yours.
Okay.
So for me, I am really averse to new cast members, and I feel like for the most part, there's a 50-50 chance that I'm going to love a new cast member in any Bravo show. It's like Monica Fowler versus Anna Marie in Beverly Hills. Like I love one, I don't love one. So the fact that the Valley is going to be 3 people we love, or 2 people we love, some might argue, and then 8 other people that I am not at all interested in the rest of the cast, which I feel like that's probably goes without saying that
Yeah.
no one else is. Do I think that they found 8 engaging, charismatic cast members that I'm going to love to watch in addition to Jax and Kristen? Probably not, given the odds of how hard it is to cast. And the reason why I want to see Jax and Kristen is because of the dynamics with the Vanderpump Rules cast, and not necessarily people that I don't know. So I'm pessimistic about if I will enjoy this show, which I think is I'm just being fully honest. I don't have high hopes because I like Jax and Kristen in the context of Vanderpump Rules and the dynamics of other engaging cast members, and I don't have high hopes that they got it right with this other huge, other cast members, a huge, new cast that's added to the show.
Yeah. I don't think anyone is excited. Like, have you seen any sentiment online that people think it looks good?
Maybe 1 in 50.
Yeah. No, it's like too many people. The trailer had to do a lot of heavy lifting trying to introduce us to everyone. I also think it's like kind of red flag that this, maybe I'm wrong, but like it's coming out in like 2 weeks or something. Like,
Yeah, March 19th.
which I feel like they had to cobble together that because the original trailer had nothing.
Right.
And it just looks like, I don't need Jax as like the leader. These people, no one struck me as particularly interesting. I'm not really interested in like family dynamics of like people with kids. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, if Stassi and Bo were on it, and there was maybe one other couple or 2 other couples that were on it,
Yeah.
we would want to watch this like way more. Right?
Yeah. I know we were debating. I assume it's going to be an hour, which I wish it was 30 minutes. We should check on that, but I would be surprised if it was that short, especially because it looked like there's so much heavy lifting to do of like, it's going to take forever to introduce everyone.
Yeah, I think that we already, like, when we watched Stassi in season 3, which I always think about, which is like Stassi could have possibly had a spin-off there when she was not like doing anything with the cast, and like we found Stassi's scenes to be so boring and unengaging on her own. It's
Stassi knows best or something.
Stassi knows best, whatever it would have been called, and it's like, I don't think any Vanderpump Rules cast member on their own is engaging enough to support a full show. We love the dynamics of them all together.
Yeah.
So you're really relying on Jax and Kristen to be powerful enough to be like, we'll watch anything with them on it. And I just don't think a lot of people are there. And I really don't know why they made this decision.
I know, it's weird. And in the preview, Kristen, she's like, I'm 40 now, so blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know why I like screamed. I know that they're all about that age, but it really hit me. Like, I know that Jax is 40 plus. I know Sandoval's 40 plus, but for some reason, anyone else crossing that threshold, I'm like, oh God.
I love hearing it. You know, my philosophy, because I'm 38 years old, and I love when I hear people are 40.
Yeah.
Because I just love seeing hope at 40.
This doesn't look like hope to me.
What doesn't?
This trailer.
Oh, well, but doesn't it? Well, what about like, Kyle on Summer House is 40. There's hope there. Tom Sandoval doesn't seem very hopeful, but Schwartz is 40. Does he seem sort of hope inspiring? Actually, no. You're right.
Him lamenting on the after show about his apartment and how he hates it.
Yeah, and he's right. You're right. Okay, well, I'll take anything I can get to make me happy about me, aging.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, let's. Why don't we take a little certified turtle piss break, and then let's talk about Vanderpump Rules.
Yep.
In an efficient fashion.
Yes.
And then so we can get to our much sought after Summer House.
House minute-ish.
Yeah, a little maybe more
Minute
than
plus.
a minute, and we want to also thank everyone for doing the Summer House challenge with us this week, because we are going to be talking about the premiere episode of Summer House, which aired about a week ago.
Yes. Exactly.
Great. Okay, I'm going to take a little certified turtle piss.
Great.
Well, it seems like every time we do a certified turtle piss break, or 90% of the time, some huge, horrible thing happens.
Breaking news.
Yeah. Unfortunately, right as we well, I don't want to make this too crass or whatever, but right as we were pissing, we got the news that Richard Lewis has passed away.
So sad.
Very sad.
He was of Curb Your Enthusiasm fame. I don't think everyone just knows who that is.
We're telling our audience and like assuming, for those of you who don't know, yeah, Richard Lewis was a mainstay of Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Yeah.
one of Larry's best friends besides the Funk Man, who
No,
also
he's
tragically
passed.
Funk Man and Richard Lewis were Larry David's squad on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Richard Lewis and Larry David's chemistry was one of the funniest things about Curb. I mean, Funk Man and him had amazing chemistry as
Yeah.
well, obviously. But yeah, Richard Lewis and Larry's dynamic was just a highlight of how many seasons? Almost 12
Yeah.
years of Curb.
And he was featured on the most recent episode this last week.
Yeah, it's horrible. But Larry had such a would just make fun of Richard Lewis all the time, and their dynamic was just very silly and sweet. And I feel very sad. I guess he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and then he succumbed to a heart attack, according to
Sucks.
Bette Midler.
Oh, she was the one with the news?
Yeah, she had the news.
I didn't know they were friends.
I didn't know either. But anyway, well, so rest in peace, Richard Lewis. You left behind such a wonderful, fun legacy. If you look up Richard Lewis's best moments on Curb, there's some bloopers that I've seen where like Larry David laughs so hard during his scenes with Richard Lewis, and it's like so funny. Their chemistry like is just amazing. So
Yeah.
rest in peace, Richard Lewis.
Yeah, rip. We
Yeah.
love you.
Okay, well, now let's talk about something a little different. Vanderpump Rules, Season 11, Episode 5. This episode is called Lake It or Break It,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Did you know that title?
It was weird.
Lake It or Break It, because they go to a lake. And then what's that play on phrase? What's the phrase that they're playing on? Make it or break it.
I guess so.
Make it or break it, which is something like when you go to, like if you go to follow your dreams.
Yeah.
Make it or break it. Right?
Is that about like
Make it or break it. Yeah, it's
about Sandoval trying to make it or break it?
I guess so. You got to wonder what's going on in the heads of these, producers that are naming these titles. But anyway, Lake It or Break It. I mean,
Yep.
that's an interesting title. What'd you think about this episode overall?
I enjoyed myself. I feel like, I don't know. I think there maybe will be more to come in Tahoe, like more fun
Yeah.
things. This was kind of a low key.
Yeah. Is Vanderpump Rules hard to talk about?
Yeah. I feel like now it's so heavy.
Right.
We were talking about, because on our Patreon, we're watching season 4 right now, and it's just pure, like distilled
Right.
fun and drama and chaos. We're not worried about ethics. We're not
Right.
worried about
But there's horrible things that happen. Like, I mean, Schwartz cheated on Katie
Sure.
twice. And I'm saying I agree with exactly how we're talking about Vanderpump Rules, in the past. Like, I agree with what we're talking about. But they've done all the same, like, there's a lot of similar shit it's just that time has not healed yet on what we're currently talking about. So it's really hard to talk about.
right. I mean, it's like just way more heavy and serious, which, isn't as fun, quite honestly. And it feels a little bit like you're watching the show grapple with its identity a little bit.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah, it's hard to, yeah, for me this was a very I don't know, I guess I have to say I thought it was like very like a kind of a sloppy episode. There was a lot of questions I had while I was watching it. But overall, to me, it was very like compelling to see how the cast navigates this unprecedented situation, which it's very unprecedented. Even when like someone was like an outsider in the group, they were never treated the way that Sandoval is treated now. It's like really, but then also then the things that like I enjoy about it, like seeing the group have to like come to terms with Sandoval, that the reason why they're coming to terms with him is artificial because Lisa or producers said you guys all got to go on a trip together, you know? So it's like, I don't know. It's hard to talk about because I don't know where the producer. I guess this has always been the case, but for now it just feels very a lot of stuff feels very manufactured because I don't think that any of these cast members would ever probably talk to Sandoval again,
Right.
if this was the real world,
Right.
Except
maybe
Schwartz.
Sheena.
And Sheena possibly, but I don't even know if Sheena would. I think Sheena would maybe in like 2 or 3 years start to let him back in his life. But even that was sort of Lisa forced her hand.
Right. Did you see that little teaser? I don't usually watch them, but I allowed it. That I think it's from next week. Sheena talking about her loan.
Yes, I totally watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gave Sandoval at the this was very shocking to me because I guess in 2019 or 2020 COVID,
Yeah.
Sheena was like on the ropes,
Right.
financially.
Yeah, she was like, my podcast got canceled. I was pregnant and I had no income during the pandemic.
What podcast got canceled?
I don't know.
Was Shenanigans?
I didn't
was
look
there
into it.
Yeah, me neither. Because that just happened. That was hot off the presses. But
Yeah.
I guess she had a previous iteration of Shenanigans that was canceled.
I guess so. I mean, I guess maybe we forget that pre-Scandal, no one gave a shit about any of them as much.
Oh, sad. I would have listened back then. But Sheena, just so you know, there's a world where you're an independent podcast where
It's
you
true.
don't have a network.
I know.
You just have to do this on your own.
I mean, I wonder if her expenses were just well over her overhead. But she said that she woke up one morning and had a massive many $1,000 PayPal from Sandoval.
And she said several thousand. And I was like, I feel like, I mean, that's almost like, I'm thinking almost in the 10 range. Because
It sounded big, because if it was like 2,000, like that would be nice, but she made it sound like a lot.
Yeah, several. But I don't think she wanted to say 10,000, but several is what, 7 or 8?
Yeah.
But then I think that she didn't want to specifically say, I mean, I'm thinking in the $10,000 range.
Maybe 10,000 even.
10,000 even.
That's
Yeah.
generous.
That is so nice. Does Sandoval know that, like, you and I, like, I mean, what we would do in terms of coverage if he PayPal'd?
Should I put our Venmo QR code on the screen on YouTube and
All of a
see if
sudden,
he comes through?
All of a sudden, next week we're like, so what the hell? Why can't they get over the Sandoval shit? No.
I know, we're like, he's a good guy.
We're like, I love Schwartz and Sandy's. You said, like, the viewing party was amazing. No, of course we cannot ever.
I'm like, the lobster hot dog cannot be missed.
Right. No, we could never. Even if he gave us $10,000, that would never skew our coverage. of him.
Payola.
No, we would never do that, right?
Never.
Absolutely never. So Tom Sandoval, you cannot pay us $10,000. No, I thought, people don't want to hear this stuff, but I think Sheena can properly take that into account.
Yeah.
Literally into her bank account that Sandoval did that for her.
Yeah.
Why can't Sheena? This is why it's hard to talk about. So I'm only talking about in terms of, I'm not talking about Tom Sandoval as a person anymore. I'm talking about the dynamics of this cast as a viewer. Sheena has to factor in little stuff like that. It's just like when I said about in season 1 when he brought her back into the photo so she could be slimed with the rest of the cast. Like,
Yeah.
she gets to factor that in. And people will say there's no altruistic motives for Sandoval. He was waiting. He always knew that if he gave her $10,000, that's okay. If he gave her $10,000, that for sure she would come back to him. But it's like, that's not.
I mean, come on.
But also, I had to ask. This is sort of like Ariana's money too, right? At this point. Or did it just come straight from Sandoval and he said, don't tell Ariana that I gave you $10,000? At this point,
I don't know how they joined their finances.
Me neither, actually.
You know?
And I guess we shouldn't speculate on that. But she said specifically it came from Sandoval.
Yeah. That's interesting. I feel like Sheena, besides Schwartz, has the most, collateral damage or, a case for being upset about not being able to be friends with him anymore.
Her journey matters. Where she ultimately lands on the Sandoval scale means more to me than whatever Lala and James decide to do.
Yeah.
I just have more vested interest in Sheena's longevity with Sandoval and where morally she ends up.
Right. So yeah, this it starts out. Ariana gets in the car with Katie. Katie's like, "Does it smell like weed in here?" I'm like, "Is she hotboxing in her car?"
That's what I took that to mean, that she smokes marijuana in her car, right? And then they talk about, was this when they talk about Well, they have their, I mean, I think we can just talk about it. They have their conversation about somebody taking a huge shit on the patio of something about her.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we took that shit? We didn't know how long it would take for them to find it.
You went in the squirt can.
Well, yeah, I was thinking how so much stuff has landed on that patio because we saw the squirt can or whatever. But this conversation, this car ride is sort of what Katie and Ariana do this episode because I go back to it a few times. But it's about them learning that it's not going to be as easy to make something about her happen because of all of the different red tape that the West Hollywood council is putting on new properties.
Yeah.
And they thought this thing was like a turnkey.
Yeah.
They're saying in the after show, they're like, we had the kitchen that was brand new. We thought that we could open the doors. And then for some reason, Robertson, I think, became like, they want to make that like a walkable street with no sidewalk.
Yeah. It sounds like everything had been approved a year before they signed their lease.
Yeah.
But then when it was reassessed upon second inspection, they were like, this is all wrong. They were like, this sink is in the wrong place. This floor is wrong. And they were like, it was approved a year ago.
Yeah, like that sucks. And are Katie and Ariana actively paying rent on that property this entire time?
I mean, I have to assume they've spent like $100,000.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. I mean, to me, it would be very shocking to be dealing with all of this and knowing now that it's just still not open because the code changed and you have to adapt to that.
I also feel like they're kind of missing the boat. Like if they would have opened at like peak something about Daryl era, there would have been a 400 person line around the block, like down like Melrose.
Yeah.
And now I feel like the longer it is, the more people are gonna be like, okay.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm conflicted about how to talk about this. It's hard to be invested in a story that we know is not actually resolved even at this point in time. So everything they say, this happened with Schwartz and Sandy, so I'm not just putting it on them. It was also annoying to deal with the Schwartz and Sandy storyline knowing that wasn't open as well. So it's the same case. I'm just saying it's like it makes me less vested in what they're doing knowing that like this does not exist.
Right. In March 2024.
Yeah, and they couldn't give a deadline even in the after show. They're like, we have no clue what's happening with something about her.
Yeah.
And I think you had a good point that I always think about, like a good point, which I forget exactly what you said, and you'll have to remind me, but you said that this was a pre-Scandival impulse. This enterprise together, and like had they known what the future of like where they would be and what they could do with this new clout that they had, would they have actually made the decision to go forth with this sandwich shop? Was that what you said? Or
Well, yeah, like just that the timing is terrible in the sense that Ariana was on Dancing with the Stars that took up 100% of her time for a few months. Now she's in New York on Broadway, so she's just, I assume, completely MIA, like probably can't even deal with it for a second.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like she didn't know. She thought that this would be taking over for the wind down of Vanderpump. They then had a secondary thing that they could focus on, and then it turned out that she was the busiest she'll ever be in her entire life.
And would they have made this decision still had they known what the future would be?
Remember when Rand was going to be their investor?
Yeah, I was thinking, when did this something about her impulse even start? That was season 9, if Randall was involved, right?
Yeah.
Remember when Randall was a full-time cast member?
Yeah. Then Ariana was late to their meeting and he gave her so much shit for it.
Oh, he was so pissed. Never, ever forget the time when Randall asked for the chicken sandwich, but he didn't want the bun and he wanted 2 chicken sandwiches at the same time. I'll never forget that.
Like KFC.
Yeah. Well, can I ask you about just Ariana and Katie a little bit? I was thinking, like, this is what I was thinking about. Like, this is Ariana's most powerful era. Right? And Katie's powerful era. We were talking about this a little bit last week. Like, Katie had a lot of goodwill from last season.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, I don't know if maybe, like, this is how it's edited, but I was thinking, like, I wish Ariana and Katie, maybe they will do this in the future, but I wish they were providing counter programming to knowing that there was a huge cast trip that they didn't want to be on.
Yeah.
Because they're sort of letting Sandoval get his grips back on everyone because they know where the cameras are going to be pointed and they know Sandoval's prowess. Say whatever you want about Sandoval, but he knows what is like going to be compelling on camera. Like he's good at like getting the camera to focus on him and doing things to like when he pulls James aside to have that one-on-one, he knows what he's doing there.
Yeah.
But so I wish Ariana and Katie, and maybe they'll do this in the future, and this is not even that harsh of a criticism, but just provide more counter programming than just like driving in the car talking about a FaceTime you had with Penny. Like I wish that they were like, like trying to co-opt the story back to them.
They're kind of doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is. It's very possible that they do have those things in the work. Like Emo Night was powerful, and they might have more. But I guess just where the story is lying now, they let the Lake Tahoe trip co-opt all of the energy for a few episodes. And I wish that they had something lined up to be like, I'm loving what Katie and Ariana are doing as this new duo together.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
I'm not holding my breath.
Okay, but is that a fair critique or?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They historically have been along for the ride a little bit. Like they usually didn't dominate themselves.
Right. Yeah, right.
That's
You're
not their personality, really.
Right, you're right. And I guess I did see like that we're going to see Ariana doing more of like her book cover, and like we're going to see the fruits of her labor metaphorically from post Scandival. And I guess I just want to see that more, and it's possible that this is just the way the editing works out, that like they didn't have something specifically planned when they all went to Lake Tahoe.
Right.
But I wish that they were factoring in audience engagement to not let Sandoval like have the storyline for multiple episodes. But I get that they did not want to go on that trip. I understand why they didn't want to go on the trip. You know that their bonus though is going to be affected. They didn't go on that trip.
Really?
Yeah, because Bravo. I read Stassi said this, or someone said this, that they encourage, or the way to motivate people to go to everything, the way to get Ariana to go to See You Next Tuesday is by saying at the end, you get a bonus for how many events you participate in. So the fact that Katie and Ariana did not go on that cast trip, they are going to have a cut to their bonus.
Makes sense. Like everyone else was saying in the after show, like Sheena said, if Lala wouldn't go, I wouldn't have gone. And they were saying like, I of course understand why Katie and Ariana didn't want to go. And Sheena was kind of even defending Sandoval a little bit, saying that she had been told that if they did go, that he would have stayed in a hotel. Like he wouldn't have forced them to stay in the same house as him or whatever. But yeah, I mean, they're all doing a job. We know this. And it's like, I understand why Ariana wouldn't want to go and why Katie wouldn't want to go if she wasn't going.
Well, can I ask why? I mean, why wouldn't Katie go?
I think mostly because of Ariana, not because of Schwartz.
Yeah, because she hasn't really justified, besides saying like I'd rather eat my shorts like Bart Simpson, or she's just saying like I would rather die than go on this trip. But like you could make the case that all of them would have said that, and for any trip you do altogether, I'd rather die than go to the beach with Schwartz in last season. Like you could say I'd rather die to a lot of things that they do together.
Yeah, she was like, I had a lot to do. I needed to, I think she said like wash my hair or like do my laundry or something like that. And I'm like, that's the thing I'm saying. She's now hitched her wagon to Ariana's star, a la Stassi back in the day. I'll go on a limb and say it. And it's like you're hitching your wagon to someone that like doesn't want to be there. So it's kind of a flop.
Yeah. Do you think that Ariana's I don't know. Do you think Ariana just like she has wanted to quit Vanderpump Rules for a long time, and this artificially inflated, like her want to be on the show, but like she would have been done with Vanderpump Rules prior to this?
I mean, that's the iconic thing is that when supposedly, allegedly, who's to trust anyone, but when the conversations were happening about Sandoval breaking up with her or not being able to break up with her, whatever bullshit, I think there's varying levels of the truth there. But that what she said was that she would leave and like never come back, not do the show anymore. Like it was implied that kind of the show was them together or nothing.
Right.
As in she never really cared about it, which watching from the beginning as we are, they are ride or die together.
Yeah.
Her storyline for much of the show is related to them defending their relationship, her standing by her man.
Yeah.
She's a little bit of a side figure.
Yeah. But then then now I'm going to do the counter to that. Sandoval did co-opt moments that were just for Ariana
Yes.
and made himself involved, like her original book.
Yes.
So there were moments when Ariana did want to shine and Sandoval actively tried to stop the shine
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So I don't know. I just wanted to, before we get to what the main focus is, I just wanted to focus for a second on Katie and Ariana's journey, this
Yeah.
season so far, and try to analyze what's going on behind the scenes. But then now I think, besides the actual, maybe we could say this now too, Ariana's other moment, which is that I thought this was kind of shocking that she said to the designer of the house that she would let Sandoval keep just the walls of their house. Well, I don't know how much we want to go into this, but I just thought it was interesting that she will allow him to have the house.
Yeah, she said she's come around on the idea, but it sounds like since then that's not true anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, or unless she wanted the Vanderpump Rules word to be the final word, and she wasn't giving us any more updates so that we could see it on camera for the first time. But that's a big deal at this point to say that you would be fine with him leaving, just living in the house, but paying for all of the furniture and stuff.
I know. I was kind of like when she was acting like, and you're not going to get to keep all of this stuff, and I'm like, well, then write up the contract.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be like, keep everything. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and so I don't know. You're right. I don't know if that is the current status of how she feels, or if it's no, he made an offer, it sucked, and now she wants to sue him to divide all the assets or whatever. I don't know which
all
is
their
more.
West Elm furniture.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I just wanted to focus on Katie and Ariana for a second before we got to the full Lake Tahoe experience.
Okay. I just for a second wanted to shout out when James was driving with Graham and he created that little song on the spot where it was like, Graham is my baby boy.
I thought that was really sweet, and I love that he put a little seatbelt on
That
Graham.
was cute.
Yeah, that was really nice. Well, yeah, I mean, let's talk about that scene where James gives one of the biggest surprises I think you can ever give to a significant other, which is surprising them with a dog that you used to own with your ex.
Yeah.
And they show up.
Do you think she really didn't know?
I thought her look of shock actually looked shocked.
Okay.
I've never seen her look like that. She was stunned.
Yeah.
She mouth agape, and she did a double take, and she was like, "Is that Graham?" So
Yeah.
I thought it was real. I don't
Yeah.
think he called her. I think he wanted that reaction on camera.
Yeah, I would love a behind the scenes on that entire thing. I mean, I know that's kind of what the after show is, but I would love, I don't know, I want more info on the timeline of what guys Lisa invited him to Vanderpump Dogs under.
Yeah.
Did he straight up just drive straight home, and then Allie knew that they were going to be filming, but she didn't know why? I want all of that.
Yeah, I'm starting to be on the side of, I think the producers accurately portrayed this, because remember, we were talking about if there was a reshoot here and this actually happened in Lake Tahoe.
I think that the James bit, his reaction was
Me too.
real.
Yeah, I don't think you could have faked that.
No.
I think he would have done something, a lot of stuff differently had he had time to do that. But I think that the one thing that's lacking from this story is how everyone is reluctant to talk about the truth about how Graham got there, and no one wants to specifically evoke Rachel's name and get in the weeds. And every time Lisa talks about the Graham situation, she just goes, I'm not going to say anything. She's not adding this story, the proper
Sandoval
story.
is like, I'm not going to bat for this.
No, he doesn't even want to
which
bring
is
it
smart.
up. Right.
Not worth
it. It is. What did you think about when Allie's reaction to Graham and Mr. Banks' reaction to Graham?
I was very on edge this entire time. Mr. Banks came in puffy tail. He actually wasn't as freaked out as a lot of cats would be. He was curious.
Yeah.
But I also, Jimmy, I was rewatching it and Jimmy went by and I was like, we were saying how cute Mr. Banks is. And he was like, what's Mr. Banks like? Mary Poppins? And I was like, do you think that she saw that movie Saving Mr. Banks with Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson in 2013 or something? It was like, he's Mr. Banks.
Yeah. Was Saving Mr. Banks, that was about, what book was that again? That was he was courting Mary Poppins, so it would become
He
a
wanted
Disney
the rights.
movie.
Yeah.
That's another. I wonder if we would watch that movie and root for Tom Hanks. It's like, can Disney have this wonderful,
I think it is.
story?
I mean, it's a Disney.
Mr. Banks.
I think it's a positive portrayal of Mr. Disney. I'm pretty sure I saw that in
Oh,
theaters.
it's actually Walt.
Yeah.
He's Walt.
Yeah.
Oh, I really want to watch that.
Fire it up.
Yeah, that's great.
I do have Disney Plus.
I actually, I thought that I know that Graham, had his druthers, would want to rip Mr. Banks's head off, but I actually thought it wasn't as bad. Mr. Banks wasn't as scared, and even though Graham was like leaping towards Mr. Banks when the door was closed, it didn't have full evil chaotic dog energy like I want to kill this cat. I thought it was more like, you run at something that you're distracted by. It wasn't.
It's just scary knowing the damage that he's done to human flesh.
Yes.
Like if he bit Mr. Banks the way he bit Rachel's mom, he would be dead.
Right. And Allie says, and he goes, James says, he only nips. Don't worry, Allie.
Why the fuck would you say that?
I know.
That's
and Allie
insane.
goes, well, I don't want him to nip at all. And if he does, Lisa's going to get Graham back.
Yeah. And then James is like, and just the same, I don't want the cats scratching him. And I'm like, a cat scratch isn't going to kill a dog. A dog putting a cat in his mouth will kill the cat.
Right.
I get really freaked out because anyone knows, like, there's like major introduction steps for introducing cats to other animals, and at least they kept them separated by the screen, but even that just felt very aggressive. Like the dog could just completely like lunge at and bark in the cat's face. I'm like, no, you have to there's a whole like system where you put the food on the other side of the door, and you do it over the course of like a month.
Yeah, and Allie says, she's like, Mr. Banks has never been around a dog before.
Yeah, like that's so traumatizing, and cats are sensitive.
Yeah, I liked this scene though more because it was more the reality of this wild decision that Lisa made, where it was so fanciful, like we talked about, like a fairy tale last episode, like Lisa descending down, James crying or whatever. This was like, this is the reality of this decision, and Allie didn't sugarcoat it at all for James.
Yeah,
if he bites Mr. Banks, he's going back to Lisa. It's a Vanderpump Dogs. I like it lessened the fanciful spin that Lisa was trying to put on this, which I liked.
I also liked that she, throughout this episode and in general, the reason I like her, she has emotional intelligence. She says, that when she says she'll give him back, or he's like, James is like, if he's our dog now, if we want him. And she's like, that's so mean. Like, if someone took Banks from me after I lost everything, I would be so sad. And I'm like, I like that she is still keeping in mind that Rachel is a human being.
I like that too. Anyone who can still she obviously does not like Rachel in any way at all or anything she's ever done, but I like that she still had empathy for her.
Yeah.
That's such a noble thing. I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah. I think she's great. I also, at the same time, she is probably the least involved. I mean, she has reason to not hate Rachel, but like it's her man's ex. So a lot of people would be like, who the fuck is this chick or whatever? But she's like the least involved because she doesn't know these people. Right.
She only has her, she loves Ariana as a friend and loves James. But yeah, still, her reaction is a natural reaction to feel empathy about, and no one else is talking about that except like Tom Sandoval and Allie. They're the only ones that are adding a little bit of, this is going to be a really sad thing for a human being to witness when it gets to that point.
Yeah, for sure. I also appreciated that she takes having a dog so seriously. She was like, cats are, easy and independent. She was like, having a dog is like having a kid. Your whole life will change, which I agree. I'm 35 and I'm still like, I'm not ready for a dog.
I never knew that distinction because I've only had dogs and they do require a lot of energy. They require like, you have to take them out or whatever, it's like, but I didn't know that was like the difference between cats and dogs. I didn't know that cats require much less
chill
attention.
So chill. I guess the main difference of the pro to a dog being easier is that you can take a dog with you places and you can't take your cat. So like if you go on a trip or something, depending on the dog, of course, you could like bring your dog with you to like a cabin or like whatever. A cat, you always have to get a sitter because
why are cats so bad outside of their home?
Some cats are chill if you train them from day one, but generally they're like in their den, the territory. They like to stay.
The difference between cats and dogs. I've never been a cat person.
Well, sorry for you.
And then we go to this wonderful Hatchet outdoor clothing store so that Tom and Tom can have a scene where they learn together. Well, Tom Schwartz learns 2 new facts about Rachel Leviss.
Yeah.
First, she's changing her name.
Yeah.
And then second, she's out of the mental health facility, which I remember all, like, this whole season. I'm like, I remember all of these huge milestones. Like, we were actively talking about them, like everything they're doing now. Like, I don't know. I've never been so in tune with the time and place of all of these events, like when they happen and everything. Right.
Yeah. I feel like this scene was pretty much just for that, and to reiterate that the Toms are together. And then, it's just Tom keeps saying that he already knew each of these items. He only found out that Rachel was out of the facility because her text stopped turning green and started turning blue, but she didn't respond. So,
did you like his text that he sent to her?
What was it?
I didn't write it down, but it was something like,
he uses the letter U.
Yeah, it was just like
Y-O-U.
It was just like, it was kind of generic.
Yeah.
It was just like, I hope that you are doing okay, and I don't know. It wasn't a very good text. I feel like at this point he's letting on more, or he's allowing for more mystery in terms of what is going on with him and Rachel, when he clearly knows for sure that she's done with him at this point. Because it sounds like they were corresponding actively, like multiple times a week. Anytime she was able to call him, she was talking to him, and now he must know that this relationship is over.
Yeah. Once she didn't call him for his birthday, he knew.
Yeah.
And then we go shopping with Brock and Sheena.
I liked this part.
And I feel like bikini shopping is a rite of passage on Bravo for a trip. But she reveals that their new clutch nanny, her other client, just had a newborn, so she's out of the picture.
Now, I'm being a little bit of a stinker here. I have to say it, but I don't think it's that controversial, so I'm not even brave saying it. I don't think that they trusted Tori at all with Summer Moon, because she made that Ozempic joke that Brock hated. Yeah. And also they needed Courtney, Sheena's sister, to watch with Tori. So I think this was a way for them to explain why they're not going to rely on Tori, why Sheena doesn't want to rely on Tori, but not make it about Tori's behavior. Right. And say that she's taking care of a newborn all of a sudden.
Yeah. It sounds like this is a real point of contention. He basically turns on the mom completely during this conversation. He says that, he doesn't want her mom around 24/7, that her mom makes her paranoid, that she's not good enough, which I didn't fully understand. I was like, is he saying she's like a master manipulator? Like, what is happening? And then Sheena sort of clarifies in the after show that it's more like, since her mom is always around and she defers to her mom, so she'd never gained confidence mothering her daughter, because she always was like, what should I do? She always was listening to her mom and deferring to her mom. So if her mom was around less, she would feel more confident in just living with the decisions that she thought was best.
Yes, exactly. But she tried to lessen the impact of what Brock was actually saying in the scene, because to me, what Brock was saying is like, I want someone else to watch our children that's not your mom, because I want to be around your mom less.
Yeah.
That to me is a huge deal.
Yeah.
The fact that Sheena's mom and Brock do not get along is like, that's going to be a major source of contention for them for as long as they don't get along.
Right.
And Sheena's saying like, I only trust Summer with my mom when we go out of town. And Brock doesn't want that.
Right. Are Sheena's parents still together?
I think Sheena's parents, her mom, you know what? She was raised by a stepdad that she considers her dad. I don't know if she has a relationship with her real dad.
Okay.
But I don't know if Erica is still married to her stepdad. I don't know that.
Because she at one point she says something about visiting the grandparents. So I feel like they are, but I think the mom just YOLO is way more involved and comes to LA all the time and leaves the grandpa in the dust.
I think so too. I don't know. That would be good to know if they're actually married, but I just know that Sheena's around, her stepdad all the time that she was raised by and considers her dad. But I don't know. But I don't know. If I was Brock, I would think it'd be so fun. I guess I don't know the dynamics, but I just think that would be the perfect scenario. Unless you really hate your mother-in-law and don't want to spend time with them.
Yeah. If she's Yeah, I need to know more. Like, is she staying at the condo all the time? I don't know. Yeah, it depends. People have different levels of comfort
of
with
how much
that.
they love. Yeah, and I guess we're tapping into something. It's like a lot of people might be like fully on Brock's side and be like, yeah, I don't want my mother-in-law
Yeah.
here all the time. But I don't know. I guess for me, I don't have that relationship with my mother-in-law, so I'd be like, yeah, please watch my kid all the time.
Yeah, it's like I always on social media see Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. Like, her mom lives with them at all times, which I know, like, culturally a lot of
Yeah.
people live that way, and I would be like, please leave. Please.
You would. Yeah.
Not
and
about Jimmy's mom, by the way. I
Yeah.
just mean in general.
Yeah, no. Okay, all right. Yeah, and I'm the opposite, and maybe it just is your relationship with a mother-in-law. But I just feel like this is going to come to a head at some point. This Brock and Erica Cold War, because Sheena loves her mom so much, and Erica loves Sheena so much. Like, they are like tied to the hip.
Yeah.
And if Brock doesn't have a good relationship with her, this is going to constantly be a big issue. And it sounds like, I mean, that's what this represented to me.
Yeah.
If he had a better relationship with Erica, he would be so happy that he has Erica to rely on for everything that he wants to do. Instead, he's like, we need a neutral party that doesn't make you feel bad as a parent, and that's who I want to watch over your mother-in-law.
Yeah. Did you feel like he was going rogue a little bit? Because she kept being like, shut up. Like, they went outside, and she was like, it's weird that we're arguing in front of strangers at a store. And she keeps being like, stop talking.
Brock went rogue, absolutely. So here's what happened. Brock treated that venue as a place where he could have a real scene about something he wanted to talk about. Sheena knows that you don't have huge scenes like that at the bikini store. You go to some other place where it's more justifiable to have an explosive fight. So Brock thought he was having a traditional Vanderpump Rules scene, but Sheena knows the nuances of what's a fight scene and we can just have playful banter together.
Yeah.
So I feel like he misread how he should utilize that scene.
Yeah.
And Sheena almost had a fourth wall break. She was like, I'm out of here.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Bravo. Please stop talking. I don't want somebody to, one, come into the store, or I don't want this bikini store salesman to talk, or sorry, salesperson to talk about what we're talking about. Like, because this is too real for this type of scene that we're having.
Yeah. I do. I don't know. I feel like, judging by how she talked about it in the after show, I don't know if she was trying to cover Brock's ass to make him not seem like an asshole, or if she at this point kind of agrees with what he's saying, and that, like, because she said, like, she just finally took Summer Moon to Disneyland alone for the first time, like, recently, and it's like, it is to her, like, with her fear of something going wrong, she, I think, uses her mom as like a crutch.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't know. It's like, obviously that's a great, help to have.
Yeah.
But if it's like impeding your confidence, I think it,
Yeah, but it's sort of on Sheena to take what's that called? Unsolicited advice from her mom when she wants to, and then also say, no, I want Summer Moon to eat almonds, or like, or she doesn't need to wear a hat 24/7 when she's at Disneyland, or it's like, it's up to Sheena to navigate that. And I did think she was trying to create an ideal version of what Brock was actually saying. Because the root of what I heard Brock saying was that I want our mother-in-law to be less a part of our lives.
Yeah.
I want your mother, sorry.
Yeah.
I want Erica to be less a part of our lives while
I know,
we're
I'm
raising
curious
Summer.
what Lala has to say about that, because she's like obsessed with her mom.
Yeah.
Okay, then we get a view of Graham on the PJ to Tahoe.
Yes.
Ken is passed the fuck out. I think they did a snoring edit.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was the plane roar or his snore, but yeah, he was fully asleep. Was he holding Graham's leash?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, it was sweet. I mean, it was. I believe that's what happened. That Graham couldn't get on the flight,
right?
But also, I can't not deny that potentially Lisa wanted another chance to introduce.
Which I was also
Graham to the
scared
group.
because every story we've heard, even from Rachel, is that he bit every person that he's
I
been
know.
in their possession for the past like year or however many months. And I'm like, I'm scared for Ken and Lisa. I know she's a dog whisperer, but
There are certain things that I'm sure Lisa knows at this point from the rescue. Like, I think Graham probably can't be around other dogs, if he's like aggressive, can't be around food, can't stop him from eating food. So Lisa probably knew at that point the 3 or 4 things that she can't do with Graham, but she's just not letting the audience know. So it makes us worried when we see this dog that we've heard such horrible things about be on a plane.
Yeah.
But it's also not right that they are making the audience think that Graham has no behavioral issues, because then, people will say, we should make Rachel look as bad as she possibly can and her family look as bad. They're villains. They need to be treated like villains. But it's not being honest, because even Ariana, who despises Rachel, is admitting that Graham had behavioral issues. So it's just not, and Tom Sandoval doesn't want to broach that either, but he does say to Allie, he bit people. So I guess they are allowing it into the world.
Yeah. Maybe they just got footage of him on the plane and then took him out and had a PA drive him to talk.
Yeah, right. He was just on the runway or whatever.
He was in like a Hannibal Lecter mask.
I think you're right. Wow. Yeah, I think you might be right.
And then Allie made a funny point that she's like, Tom probably spent a lot more time with Graham than we ever knew.
Yeah.
And in the after show, Schwartz is like, Tom, were you afraid that Graham was going to give you an suspicious level of affection?
Yeah.
He's like, I know you.
Yeah, I like that.
I feel like Tom was sort of like, hey, Graham, get away from me.
No, seriously. Yeah. He had to very much try to stop his huge reaction to everything he was thinking about Graham the entire time. So he had a very muted reaction to Graham.
Right. Also, okay, so this is relevant due to news this week. Lisa does a photo shoot with a wolf. I know you posted about it. She posted this week an image of a wolf wearing a suit.
Yes.
And she says, "Who is this? I need him?"
Yeah. ... Something like, I forget what else she said, but something like, I need this man in my life.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I mean, I think I commented on your video, the bestiality continues.
Yeah, it was shocking and surprising to people who wondered why Lisa Vanderpump would do this, like why she would generate an AI image of a wolf in a suit and say, I need this man who is this handsome wolf or whatever. But to us, who are so entrenched in Lisa's language, of course she would find a wolf that had human qualities. That's like the
slam dunk.
Yeah, that's like, so yeah, I was just like, yes, this is just who Lisa is attracted to completely.
Yeah, when she's posing with this wolf in Tahoe, she's like, oh my God. She's like, I love you. This is the best moment of my life. And I liked what she said about the restaurant. She goes, there's nothing shy about my new restaurant, and it ain't for the faint-hearted, that's for sure.
She already had her 3 key words that she loves to use. Look, like we've seen this with Pump, we've seen this with Sir. She has her tagline. This was sexy, masculine, and then this was, she said, this is, I have to say it, this is just the big bad wolf.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tom, one of Tom Tom's original characteristics was masculine too, right? I feel like she's already used masculine as one of her adjectives to promote one of her other businesses.
Yeah. Nick Elaine is popping off on this one.
Yeah, Nick Elaine was loving life this entire episode. I want to say, before we get to when they actually land in Lake Tahoe, I just want to talk about the airport footage that they had. Because they cannot film at an airport properly, I think this was a huge injustice to the audience to have all of the first interactions that all of the cast have with Sandoval. I mean, imagine how much interaction they had with him for the 2 hours or whatever this was, getting to the airport, being at the Guy Fieri restaurant, the Burbank airport, or I don't know if they were at LAX.
I think it was LAX.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Maybe they went to Barney's Beanery, Delta Terminal.
Barney's, yeah. Like, they missed a lot of moments, like what Tom Sandoval says, of Sheena saying, come over here, Tom, sit with us. Join us at Barney's. Like, because they decided to have that scene at the airport, they lost a lot of, I think, powerful footage of their first interactions with Tom Sandoval in a group setting. I thought that was bad.
I did enjoy that. He cried about it 4 times between in the car with Schwartz, again later, thinking about it, and then in his interview, and then in the after show. He cried about it so many times, and then Sheena and Lala we literally said hello, which to me they were acting like, what is he so fucking extra about, all we did was say hi, and I'm like, that actually kind of makes his point that he was so desperate and so low and needing just anything besides absolute hate that he cried just because you greeted him.
Yeah, I thought possibly Lala and Sheena were being a little disingenuous about how they said they greeted Sandoval, because Sheena says all we said was hi, and Sheena's never talked that way in her life, a dismissive hi like that. It's like repulses her to be unfriendly to someone.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, we're over here 5 times, to where he doesn't even change the language at all. So I have to say it. I believe that they were more friendly to him than what they say in the after show, because they don't want the scorn of Ariana in the audience. So they're trying to discount. They know there's no evidence of this. So they're trying to discount how much of a reaction they had to him.
They show, what does Brock shake his hand, I think, in the footage or something.
I mean, I just don't believe that they were that cold and icy to him. And then James admits how he was. He said he gave him school bus, back of the bus energy, where he looked at him like, go sit by the toilet.
Right.
And Lala's like, oh, so you treated him like a bully.
Yeah. Okay, then we get to the rental house. Brock and Sandoval are the first ones to hang out, or like the first one to hang out with Sandoval. They're in the kitchen. He's saying, I'm just trying to live in the moment. He says, me and Rachel didn't do anything with malicious intent, but we feel like everyone else did things to us with malicious intent. Then when James comes in, for some reason, Sandoval decides to say, hey, James, like, thanks for being nice to me, dude. Like, I really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. Which throughout this episode, he keeps thanking people. And I'm like, just be fucking cool. Like, you don't have to thank everyone, because then they're going to be like, oh shit, like I'm being too nice. Like, just don't acknowledge it. Like,
yeah, you're right. It makes them want to turn back the dial a little bit on how they're treating him, because they're like, wait, he's reading strange things from me that I'm not giving off.
Yeah.
Like, thank you so much for being so nice to me. James like, I'm not being that nice to you.
Yeah, he's like, let's just get through the weekend. Like,
I do want to talk. I want to take a minute to highlight Brock. I thought that when they got to the house, the fact that there was no like all hands meeting to address Sandoval being the sort of skunk in the works, there was a missed opportunity. So Brock going out on the limb and being the first one to talk to him, I thought was actually kind of brave of Brock. And what Brock said was actually kind of insightful. And I don't know why Tom Sandoval wanted to push back so much. He's sort of like, I don't want to go here with you, but it's like, if you can't talk to Brock and get your feelings across to Brock, I mean, Brock is like a sympathetic ear at this point. He doesn't hate you. He's sort of like Allie.
Yeah.
He's barely in the crossfire. So if you can't make your case to Brock, I don't know what you're doing. You're never going to get it across to Lala or Sheena. Right. And then I thought what Brock said was kind of sweet when he says, I forget when he says it, but he's like, we're not trying to treat you like a villain. We're just very hurt friends here, which I thought was kind of sweet.
Right. Yeah. And in his confessional, Sandoval's like, everyone wants me to just grovel at their feet or whatever. He's like, but this is a situation we all need to move on from together. Basically saying like he needs to forgive them as well. Right.
Which has been the problem this entire season. He cannot allow that they talked shit about him at his lowest and profited off his misfortune or whatever he says. Yeah. It's like the entire culture and your former friends were very upset with you and said things in the moment that the whole world felt. And I just feel like I don't know why he can't remove the passion that everyone had and the fervor during Scandival from his apology. He's like, they owe me an apology as well.
Right.
And that's why he can't apologize to anyone properly.
Yeah. I know. He's going to have to get over that. But then when they go outside as a group, he thanks everyone for being so friendly.
Yes.
He said that they're going to do guided meditation and yoga and all this stuff. And he said that meditation has been a solid replacement for drinking for him. Of course, Lala, her ears perk up. She's like, hell yeah, I love talking about sobriety.
Yes.
And she's sort of like, he's not saying he's never going to drink again, but he wants to have an era. He said he does admit that he was essentially a functioning alcoholic. He said he drank every day for 2 years.
Right.
Which, when I think about it, when he was talking about that the whole thing with Rachel wasn't just about having an affair with her. It was that he was in this relationship that needed to end. He was unhappy, and I'm like, yeah, if you're drunk for 2 years, you can't get organized with your thoughts and feelings to like come up with a game plan that's responsible and kind to the other person and well thought out. You're just like, he was just in like a spiral.
Yeah, right. Wow. Yeah, I never thought about just being drunk for 2 years. Like drunk.
Yeah, if I drink like
bordering on
one day a week, my week is thrown off.
Right. I mean, his lifestyle was obviously so conducive to drinking, where it's like shots and everything.
Yeah.
You own a bar but yeah, I guess I didn't take into account the fact that he was just fully operating as bordering on drunk,
Right.
for a really long
It's
time.
like you have to, if you're going to try and get out of a 10-year relationship, you really have to do soul searching and like get organized, because there's that entire, you own a house together. There's the legality of that. There's like, you would have to be very together to make that choice wisely.
Yeah, and you also don't know if you're operating under the proper mindset as you're going through this relationship. What if you being semi-teetering on drunk and going out all the time and getting shots from fans or whatever is contributing to the misfortune or misery that you have at home?
Right.
You're it's like you don't have a proper baseline to
Right.
accurately assess your surroundings.
Right.
Just to throw that in there too. It's awkward. They're all, I think for me, the cast and how they're dealing with Tom Sandoval is that they're so worried about the fan reaction to who is going to break first, because they know that as we're watching this now, they're going to be in a microscope. So I feel like there is a lot of outside influence on how they're treating Tom Sandoval at this point. If he hadn't gotten so much shit from the world, I wonder if Lala would have instantly had the same moment that she tried to have with Rachel, of like actively talking to him, seeking him out, saying that I'm there for you. I think that they're all like so worried about the wrath of the audience at this point that they're sort of treating him like with kid gloves.
Yeah. Then we see the staircase moment, which visually wasn't iconic. I thought it was going to be like,
Me too, but I think where Sheena was sitting, they didn't have it captured properly, but where Sheena was sitting, you can look at it. It was descending down a staircase. There was white light from the sun. It just, you and I put such a beautiful flowery spin on it.
Yeah. But yeah, Lisa drops off that dog and pieces out.
She says, I think she really says something like, I'm not going to say, she said, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
It's like,
she's like, bye.
And then Brock is processing. They're all stunned. They're like, what the hell is happening? Allie goes, Graham's back. Lala's like, what the hell? Brock goes, what the fuck? And
Schwartz says he was in the gulag.
Yeah, and there's no proper context for what is going on. James tries to explain it when Brock says his mind's blown. James goes, this is what happens when you go away and you can't take care of your dog. And anyway, he's my buddy now and he's living with me and let's not talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, okay.
Graham drags his ass on the deck.
Yeah, he immediately scoots. James goes, I'm going to clean that up. Right?
Yeah. And then Tom, like Allie kind of asked Tom for some tea and is like, do you know about this? And he reveals, he's like, I know they tried to place them a couple times and he bit some people. It didn't really work. And that's the last I heard. And she's like, it's a new start for everyone. She's going to be called Rachel now and he's going to be called Hippie. And she's like, it's sad, I know.
Yes. Yeah. That was an interesting conversation. And also, they asked Tom Sandoval the after show, they're like, how did you feel when this happened? He was like, I felt like I immediately needed to call Rachel because I knew that she was going to be horrified that this had happened.
I know. He was like, oh shit. So I feel like that's why he's so in his head and that he's like, oh fuck.
And then they get finally they edited a lot of, I think, legitimate questions that needed to be asked here, but then they decide that they're going to have a little cleansing Lake Tahoe moment. They sort of have a little bit of fun. You see like James on the rocks with Sandoval and they're like jumping.
There's a drone
and diving.
shot that like at the end it pulls up all the way as Sandoval sunbathing on a rock and then the drone like flies away.
I thought that was Schwartz at Sandoval.
I thought it was.
Oh, okay, maybe it was. Yeah, he was having a real moment out on the rocks there.
And then we already talked about it, but Ariana is assessing the value of her furniture.
Yep.
Which is very generic in my opinion. Despite some of it supposedly being custom. Schwartz gets stung by a bee.
Schwartz gets stung by a bee. Some chaotic energy here. Sheena and Brock apologize, or Brock apologizes for at the bikini store having a huge outburst. And he says, let's have a little bit of bliss in Lake Tahoe before we deal with all the horrific shit that's going on, with your mother-in-law and me.
Then we get to visit Wolf, which is under construction. They show the rendering. It is the most Nick Elaine shit you've ever seen in your life.
She said, Nick Elaine, close your eyes. What would you do if you had no budget? What would you do if you went to heaven? You could construct any, what do they call it? Restaurants you wanted. And then she let him paint. And then Lisa was closing her eyes. And he goes, open them. And she looked at that. And it looks, what'd you think?
Yeah, he drew it like in real time, like sketching.
Right. They both had their eyes closed. Yeah. And then he goes, open them. And then, you see that drawing.
I mean, it does look sexy.
You think so?
Yeah. It looks like you'd be transported once you walked in.
Yeah. Okay. We're definitely gonna be transported when we finally get to go to Lake Tahoe. That's definitely on the list of things where we're going. I didn't know it was attached to Harrah's.
Right.
So it's sort of, I thought it was going to be a standalone sexy restaurant. The fact that it's adjoined to a casino, I don't know if that makes me feel as good as if it was a standalone restaurant.
Right.
Where do you feel in terms of restaurants that are adjacent to casinos?
I mean, I guess that's like her bread and butter these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to, the jury's still out for me on whether I liked that Nick Elaine experience.
Did we stay at Harrah's? At
we
BravoCon?
stayed at, yeah.
It was, right?
Yeah.
Kind of shitty.
Yeah, we didn't really like. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Dump.
Like, yeah, it was kind of a dump. No offense to Harrah's. I mean, it was better than the Rio, but I have to say, I never thought Tom Tom's aesthetic really matched with Tom and Tom.
No.
Like that they didn't. I don't think they really liked that aesthetic, and they
steampunk a little bit.
Yeah, I just never thought that they felt wedded to that aesthetic.
No, they didn't have a choice.
They didn't have a choice, and I think that I don't know. I want this still had some Tom-esque work there. I guess because it's Nick Elaine.
Nick Elaine all the way.
Okay.
I feel like he's kind of like her boyfriend, low key.
Like she that would be her dream. But
yeah, I think she loves him.
I think so too.
Yeah. But I was excited to see it. She smashed the wall with a hammer, and then everyone, when they join, they do the classic thing of everyone gets to get out their aggression by smashing the wall.
What are those called? She treats it like what are those called? Where you break stuff in a room? You remember
I was going to say break room.
I thought that too. Yeah, where they get to smash out their aggression. And
didn't Brittany do it with people after Jax cheated?
Yeah.
Like they threw like printers against the wall and like plates and stuff.
I would want to do it.
And they were like, rotten hell.
I would have loved to get a chance to break some of the shit in that. Would you have done that?
Sure.
Okay. James goes first. He goes, you should have taken better care of Graham.
Yeah. Schwartz says, I don't want to be single and 40. Kind of a sad one.
Yeah. And Lala says, I'm going to cry.
Sheena goes, motherfucking restraining order.
And then this is a true embodiment of Tom Sandoval's state of mind and why it's off base and not getting anyone back on his side. Yeah. What he decides to do with his break shit moment is say all the things that his castmates said about him during Scandival.
Yeah.
Scumbags and cheaters. I forget who called him that.
Yeah.
Ariana.
Worm with a mustache.
James.
Charles Manson's son.
Lala.
Then he just says Lala.
Then he says James Kennedy.
Yeah. And then motherfucking Scandival.
So, in a nutshell, if you just took that scene out of, by itself and showed us in the Scandival mindset of what Tom Sandoval would be doing 6 months from now, you'd be stunned that this is the direction he decided to take.
They gave him the quiet edit where everyone, it was kind of crickets.
It was an extra moment that landed like a thud, and he thought he would have the uproarious laughter and cheering, but it was embarrassing. And Lala said, which she said it under her breath. I don't know why she didn't make more of a meal of this. She said, what about hitting the wall for the things that you did?
Yeah.
It's like,
I think that, when he said, which one made everyone laugh because there was one that James did a big reaction. I think was it when he just said la la?
He said Lala.
Yeah, and everyone did laugh. I think it went a little better than they portrayed. But then they gave it the cut where Lisa was like, "Time to go to dinner." Like, Jesus Christ.
And they have Sandoval walk out in shame with crickets. What do you think Sandoval would, if he was taking accountability and being responsible for his actions, what could he have said while he was screaming and throwing a hammer through the wall?
Yeah, he's like, emotional accountability.
Yeah, what would he say? I was horrible. I betrayed someone that loved me more than anything.
Yeah. I ruined it all.
What did you say first? Accountability? Yeah, I think that would have been
no fun.
I think if Tom Sandoval, he should have thought about it for a second and just said, what can I say that, like, where I look bad for a second?
Right. Yeah.
He's really, I say it every week, he cannot accept that he is not the victim in a scenario, and he's the perpetuator of misery.
For sure.
He can't.
No.
He's never, I don't think in a very long time he has been the villain, and he can't accept that he did anything that would warrant being considered a villain.
Yeah, he definitely bought into, and we all kind of did, his like nice guy persona where he made everyone dumpling lattes. They showed him making James one in the montage.
Yes.
He like helped him plan his engagement. He brought he always brings the wedding kit when he's a best man. Like, he very much is like, that's my thing. And it's like, now that everyone's like, we don't give a shit about any of that because, what you did was worse. We're like, he's like, no,
yeah, remember all those things I did? And we're like, you gave Sheena $10,000 just so she'd forgive you for everything you did.
Yeah.
Do you believe with the psychological theory that there's no altruistic act and that it's only to make yourself feel better if you do something altruistic? Or do you believe in true, beautiful altruism and that maybe Tom Sandoval was altruistic at times?
Yeah, I don't, I think, a byproduct of like generosity is that you feel good, but I think it's a good quality to feel good by making others feel good.
Yeah. Like, I was just thinking of myself. I was like, am I an evil person who only does generous acts to make myself feel better? But then I'm like, sometimes if if I see someone going through a hard time outside of like the post office, and if I had $2 that were spare, I wouldn't give that to them just so that I feel better.
Like, there are no cameras on you.
Yeah, and I don't even feel that good about myself after doing that. So there is some altruism.
Yeah.
Did we just solve that psychological conundrum?
Yeah, we're philosophers.
That's amazing. No wonder people listen to Turtle Time and like it, right?
Obviously. Okay, then they go to dinner, and Schwartz and Nicolaine order dirty martinis.
Yeah, and Lisa goes, dirty martinis? Who the hell are you two? And then she goes, Allie, what are you going to order? And Allie goes, obviously, Vanderpump Rosé. You saw that?
Like, I like that.
Did you see that on the way out of their restaurant, which is being built, that they already have the advertisement for Wolf by Vanderpump, and it says, throw me to the wolves on the wall?
I love that.
Yeah, so you go from Friday's dinner, or whatever the hell that restaurant, Friday's Station, and then you walk across. When we go to Harrah's, you're going to see this. It says, throw me to the wolves, ... And it says Wolf by Vanderpump, and then that's what's going to greet you when you go.
That.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. Did you also notice that back at the something about her conversation, Ariana says, like, they've been having problems, and she's like, I want to say, like, who do I need to blow at City Hall? But they're all gay. And I was like, I feel like Lisa already said that like years ago or something.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I didn't really respond to that.
It felt a little disingenuous.
I just didn't. I don't like the idea of Ariana saying that she would like blow someone to get through the red tape at like City Hall or whatever. I just don't like that
imagery.
Yeah, imagery, or that she had to think about that for even a second.
Okay, then at dinner they're talking about someone mentions how Graham seems like a different dog, and Lisa says James seems like a different dog as well, doesn't he? Yeah,
it's so sweet. And then Lisa is I have to say, a little bit off her game at this table, because she's going, I thought it was interesting. She's like trying her hand at what they're going to talk about at dinner. And she goes, I thought it was interesting that Schwartz said that he was sad and single. And everybody goes, yeah, okay. it wasn't that big of a deal in
Yeah.
my mind. I think Schwartz was just demonstrating his characteristic self-effacement and just having a little bit of a pity party moment.
Right.
He didn't
Yeah.
mean that like deeply and truly, I don't think.
Yeah, but then they bring it up in the after show, and he says that he is bummed out by his living situation. He hates his apartment. It costs as much as his mortgage
Yeah.
did, except he's not building any equity. He said that he could make it look better. He has friends who are interior decorators. He's like, I could make it way nicer, but I don't want to get cozy there because I don't want to live there anymore.
You're right. That added more context to it, so maybe he legitimately was very upset. At first, I did think it was just characteristic Schwartz.
Yeah.
What's that called? The opposite of hubris.
Like, aw shucks.
Yeah, aw, shucks behavior.
And then Sandoval kind of doubles down. He's like, your apartment kind of reminds me of like your like someone's first apartment after they leave the dorm. I was
Yeah.
like, rude.
Yeah,
I'm
that
like,
was-
what would Sandoval's apartment look like if he had to move when he will have to move?
Yeah,
Like,
that was rude. And then they talk about Joe again, and Schwartz reiterates that she doesn't live with him and he doesn't love her.
he
Or-
said that she's a landlord.
he did win in that.
He said, they're like, he's like, she doesn't live with me. She owns a house. She has a rental property.
Whoa,
And I was like, so does she live there?
right?
Like,
or
why
does
did
she-
you say it like that?
He just needs to be fully honest about what the hell's going on with Joe. And then I thought that one of my favorite moments of this episode, in terms of what it meant and how it made me feel, was when Sandoval, for a second in the glowing sun, says, "Brock, look over here for a second," and he takes a full blown selfie with Brock.
He was,
He
it
goes-
was entrapment.
He goes, "Thanks, dude." And then you watch Brock. You watch Brock question why the hell that just happened.
Yeah.
And Sandoval goes, "Yeah, I never take selfies for myself." And Brock has a bit of confusion where he
Yeah.
says, "Why did?"
I
Sandoval
was
just
waiting
take a
for him to be
selfie?"
like, don't you dare post that.
For sure. And that's exactly what Brock was thinking.
Yeah.
Sandoval took that selfie. There's no other way to read it. He took that selfie as a Brock sign of endorsement. And Brock's confusion after is that he's thinking, what the hell is Sandoval going to do with this selfie? Is he going to indict me and say, having a great dinner with my friend Brock in Lake
Yeah.
Tahoe? That's like what that photo was for.
Yeah. And then Lisa's like, now, James, why don't you tell me one thing you like about Sandoval? I was like, what the fuck is happening?
She goes, you're having sort of a feel-good factor. You've got the feel-good factor within you. So why don't you say something nice about Tom Sandoval? It's like, where did you get that? Like,
Yeah.
where did that come from?
And then Tom is like, that felt a little awkward, Lisa. And Sheena's like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, they all sort of break for the tension because it was a really awkward, ham-handed way to make James say something. And James takes it in stride. He goes, just the fact that we're all sitting at the table, I think, is a huge step.
Yeah.
And Schwartz goes, yes, this is huge.
Yes.
Definitely, this is huge. So that's all. James gets to get out of it. He doesn't have to say something flattering about Sandoval.
Yeah. And they bring up Tom says that he made an offer to Ariana to buy her out. He hasn't spoken to her since the reunion. And then, yeah.
I want to say something about the feel-good factor for James. Do you think that was sort of a quid pro quo of Lisa to say, you've got such a good, beautiful thing that I brought back into your life. Why don't you say something big, bold, and
Yeah.
beautiful about this person that
She's
I'm
like,
advocating
you owe me
for?
now.
I mean, there's other ways to read it, but it was such a bad segue.
Yeah.
That the fact she says, James, you're feeling your oats and having the time of your life because of something I did for you. Now, why don't you give some of that beautiful, fun spirit or
Yeah.
feel good spirit to Sandoval, who I want to be good with you all now?
Yeah, I do feel a little bit. I know I defended Lisa to the high heavens during the reunion when everyone started turning on her and, questioning her place on the show and
Yeah.
if they needed to give reverence to her any longer. Because I was like, you kiss the ring forever. Like, it's Vanderpump Rules. But on this episode, I was kind of like, what are we all doing here? Like, these kids, in quotes, kids, are old as fuck.
Right.
Why are they still like on like mommy's dime or like, it just feels weird at this point.
Yeah, I think I also defend Lisa to the high heavens, and I consider her to be responsible solely for the power of Vanderpump Rules and Beverly Hills for a really long time, and I love her forever. I think that what is irking me about Lisa is her trying to still generate storylines within this universe that are not natural in any way. I don't mind them going to Lisa like The Godfather and asking for favors once a season or twice a season, or going to the restaurants a couple times.
Yeah.
But I feel Lisa's need to actively participate in what is going on, and it's not justifiable anymore because there's no excuse for why Lisa is so embedded in the lives of people that no longer have anything to do with her for the most part.
Yeah.
So I wish that they could figure out and Lisa knew enough to be like, withdraw a little bit. This show is not going to last forever. You're not going to be out of the loop for much longer. Also, if Lisa wanted to, she could snap her fingers and be back on Beverly Hills. Mm-hmm. I think she just needs to find a new avenue of what she does on Vanderpump Rules, so it doesn't come off like this, where she's trying to just make fodder for the table by making James compliment Sandoval for no reason and creating a awkward moment.
Right. Okay, so then they go out after to a bar. Schwartz gets a bourbon shot and a Coors Light, and then Brock orders 2 tequila shots. So then Schwartz is like, never mind, I'll do the tequila shot.
What did you think about them all just sitting down at this bar outside Lake Tahoe with Sandoval? It's so... The fact that they haven't all properly talked to him in their own way, and he's just like sort of like sitting right next to them, and they're like sort of treating him like it's normal, is really weird. Like,
I know.
This is a show where like they get points and they get favor for having hard conversations, but none of them wanted to pull him aside before he pulled James aside, and just like Brock did. And I give Brock a lot of credit. He tried to have this talk, smoothing the waters and figuring out how to navigate this trip, but they're all just like, it's like they're half in, half out. They're like, I don't talk to him, but he's sitting right there in front of me.
I know. He's sort of handling it pretty well.
He is.
You know?
He is handling it well for being the skunk in the works, like I already said, for being the, what's another word? There's a huge elephant in the room, but this show prioritizes and benefits from hard conversations. And the hardest conversation they could all be having is one-on-ones with him in the house, and they're not having it.
Right.
That's why there's a lot of missed opportunity here.
Right.
And it makes all these scenes awkward. It's like, talk to him. He's at your table. You can't just treat him like a leper.
Right. Well, he quickly takes it upon himself to pull James aside.
And that, I'll get shit for this. To Sandoval's benefit, you can say this is a negative too, because he knows how to work the camera and the audience. That's what we've been saying. That's why we were so led astray by him. He knows that a one-on-one with James is the most powerful thing he can do, and he got 5 minutes of the final episode. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying, like, he's getting power the way he knows how to get power, by making scenes happen that are not happening without him.
He's playing the game.
He's playing
wisely.
the game. And this isn't a horrible, controversial defense of him, right?
No.
It's just saying.
I thought this conversation went really well.
It did.
And it was like, wow, like, look what happens when you listen to the other person and take accountability for 1 second.
Yes. So he pulls him aside. He goes, "We'll be in clear view of everyone else, so you can see that we're not like fighting or whatever." But James does a really great job in the scene, having this conversation with Sandoval.
Yeah, I liked. Tom is like, I just want to coexist. Honestly, I was scared to talk to you before. It was like all very overwhelming. And he starts by saying, "We never meant to hurt anyone." And I liked James said, "No one ever like means to hurt anyone, but you knew that it would." Right. So like, obviously everyone always wishes that what they did didn't hurt someone. Like that's like not
totally.
An excuse.
And these are the 4 pillars of like Tom's defense that we've heard. One of them is, we did not have malicious intent.
Yeah.
But what James said undercuts that. It's like, that pillar is gone.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you say to yourself, you knew you were hurting Ariana.
Yeah.
You knew it.
Yeah.
You might have not thought about James. That's okay.
Yeah.
You knew that you were doing something actively that was going to ruin someone's life and mental health at a time when you said that they were really in a bad place.
Yeah.
So that defense is done, and James finally just cut it out, which I really liked.
Yeah. And he's like, "Do you think, there was a version where you could have broken up with Ariana and just made it work with Rachel and like avoided all of this.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
he goes, no. He goes, oh no, you have no idea. And he goes, no, it was so hard. All the things you have to factor in. And James goes, all I'm hearing is that all I want to say to you is that I think that you could have been smart enough to have walked out the door. So this is the end of the relationship with me and Ariana, and then possibly started a relationship with Rachel under better terms. It would have still been bad, but you could have navigated this better if you were smarter.
Right. James like gets very worked up. At one point he stands up and sits down, like he's like jumping out of his skin.
He almost had a walkout, but then I think he had more to say. And
then he's like, do you think you're going to be with her now? And Sandoval's like, I don't know. He said he's torn between resentment and love.
Oh, I hate when I'm torn between resentment and love.
I know.
I just want to be on the love side, but when you get that resentment in there, and then James says provocative, sort of thought-provoking question. He says, was it all worth it? And Tom says, I don't know. And James goes, well, I'm sorry for you, bro. Like that all of that shit and everything you're dealing with now might not have been worth it.
Right.
And then Tom, in his confessional, adds more, where he says maybe it was worth it, because he says, for me, the path that I was on, no matter what happened, would have been a horrible path. And no matter what is happening to me now, it might be better that I'm on this new path. Right. Sort of ambiguous language to say that, like, no matter what, he ultimately feels better about where his life is leading to now than it was with Ariana.
Yeah. And James reiterates, he's like, we've been through a lot together. We were bros. Yeah. And Sandoval does say, I'm sorry that I discounted that. I agree.
I love when he does that. He did it with Sheena too. He says, I'm sorry. I threw you by the wayside when I didn't care about getting you back on my side, or when I wanted to discount our relationship in terms of how you were affected by this. But now he's really acknowledging that him and James had a rapport and a relationship no matter what. And
James is like, you were the guy. He said that he was the last person in Hollywood that was ever going to fuck him over. And he couldn't believe that he was the one to stab him in the back.
And I believe that. I believe more of the big brother, the James feeling like Tom Sandoval was his big brother. I mean, I do think that is genuine. And he thought that, just like us before, we thought Tom Sandoval was a trustworthy person.
Yeah. And so, it ends pretty well. They show a montage of their moments. Yeah. They do a less cruel take on the trumpet.
They show James after he does his trumpet. James goes, dude, this is iconic or something. He's like, I love the magic we worked up in here. Yeah. And Tom, ends the conversation with saying, at your ease, we'll work through this. And I promise to listen better, which is the final sentiment that everyone has said he should have when he's arguing with someone. So Tom took some notes and took the I'm the victim mentality out of this entire conversation and just went with the I'm sorry, no but, and whatever you want to do with me, I'm here. You can take it at your leisure, but I'm going to work on getting back in your good graces and being a better friend, which is the advice that every single person has told him. And this is, I think, the first conversation where he really learned it. Yeah.
And it ends with a hug.
It ends with a hug. And then I was kind of shocked to see that James on the after show undercut this moment. He says that a lot of what Tom was saying didn't make sense to him, even though in the moment it seemed like James understood everything.
Yeah.
So James, again, it was sort of what Lala and Sheena were doing, where they try to lessen the impact of what they did on the trip because they're thinking about the audience reaction now. James is he's saying that he was like, yeah, I just let him have that moment, but I didn't think he had really learned anything or something.
He said that things are not going well for them now.
Okay.
Currently, whenever he filmed that.
Okay. So I think we read the scene right, that's how James came away from that conversation, and then since then it's been sullied by shitty stuff that Tom has done.
Yeah. But yeah, I will say just overall, I am intrigued by this era of everyone being forced to, I don't know, become some level of comfortable being around him, because oh my God, it's like a year. March 1st is like
March 1st is 15 days before the Ides of March. That is when the phone fell out.
Yeah.
at Tom Tom when we were there. I mean, obviously we have to, I don't know what you're
Commemorate.
doing March 1st, but I think we have to go back to Tom Tom, do a 1-year retrospective. And then third is when the world knew, when Scandival opened the universe open, and we're now living in a post-Scandival universe.
Yeah.
I think, I guess, just to go back to what I was saying about would anyone forgive Sandoval or ever have them in his life if this was not a show, I still don't know where I'm landing there.
Yeah. I know, because it's like on one hand, it's like they would never have to see him again because they wouldn't be forced to be together. On the other hand, they wouldn't be judged for seeing him again.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. So I don't know, but I like talking about this episode. There's a lot of shit. We've never seen the cast have to deal with a situation like this. Even when Lala and James were on the outs, they weren't treated like this. It wasn't like they were meekly sitting, like trying to gain favor from everyone. They did, but it was a completely different experience. This is like,
I feel like Stassi at that reunion is maybe the closest, when everyone was just like, shut up.
Yeah, Stassi came closest to this experience, but it still did not have this feeling.
No.
It was not like this. It was not like full-blown leper in the midst.
Right.
That has to like gain his way back.
Right.
With no like help. Well, he has help. He has Lisa and Schwartz. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So I mean, I did like talking about this episode.
Yeah. There's a lot to think about. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
what the opposite, how that was sort of hard to talk about? What's the opposite of hard to talk about?
Summer House?
Yeah. It's like a beautiful ray of sunshine.
Yeah.
Summer. We're going from the winter of Lake Tahoe, even though it's the summer technically, to a beautiful summer. Fun in the sun.
4th of July.
4th of July.
Yeah.
Party vibes.
I forgot that's always where it starts.
I forgot too.
Yeah. No, I thought we already talked about it a little bit on Patreon, but great first episode.
Oh, this thing was rocking and rolling. And I want to acknowledge the new news that you told me that you like had a newspaper. You had where did they used to show ratings on? What was the Hollywood Reporter?
Yeah, or Variety.
You had the front page of Variety, and it said Summer House
Slump.
The Summer House slump. And it said ratings are in the doghouse. And Summer House, unfortunately, had a huge hit to its ratings between season 7 and season 8. And if I was thinking about things, which is what I'm doing right now, I would think that Summer House would actually get a little uptick from the Carl and Lindsay drama that's going on. So what's
the only that really bums me out as someone who loves the show. It brings a small smile on my face imagining Lindsay reading that.
For some reason, Lindsay's like, wait, what the hell happened here? The lowest ratings of Summer House ever after I have this huge moment.
Everyone's like, actually, it's about them. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one of those old timey headlines where it's like, Summer House slump, Hub House, a Hub House hovers, or whatever, it'd be like, like a play on an H word.
Yeah.
But I can't obviously.
Hub House in Hooverville.
There you go. That's great. Like, and Lindsay has to read that it's a direct correlation to her. So I will say, okay, this is an amazing episode. If you're not watching Summer House, what the hell are you doing? It is a carefree, joyous experience. If you think seasons 1 and 2 are a Summer House slog, season 3 is so beautiful. It's when Hannah and Paige get in the mix. It feels like modern Summer House. And there's so much fun shit that has happened over the 8 seasons on that show that you love the characters. They're cast members. You love
Summer
all of them.
House slurp it up.
Yeah, I Summer House slurp too. There's no slump for us. And I just think, I don't know what's going on here. It might be something to do with live TV ratings,
right.
And Summer House might not be appointment television for people, but you got to watch Summer House. It can provide joy. You just need to get acclimated to this cast, and I swear you'll grow to love every single one of them, except potentially Lindsay Hubbard.
Right. So it opens up hot with the breakup preview, like 2 months earlier,
Which is the best way they could have ever started
we
this.
called it. We knew that's what it would be. But it's, her getting up from the couch saying, clearly you've already made up your mind.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out of here, whatever. Carl talking to the camera saying, she's gonna, act blindsided. She's gonna try and spin this, but she's been blind to what's been going on for the last year. Then iconically cuts to her on the phone with her dad saying, I am completely blindsided.
She says it, blindsided. And I like that Carl's talking to the camera and he's muttering to himself like it's a fourth wall break, which is so funny that they said you can break the fourth wall. Just tell the camera what you're feeling. And I like that he says, I thought she would handle this completely differently, or whatever he says is very funny. Also, it's interesting that Lindsay immediately calls her dad instantly. Like,
I know. I love when Carl says, like, you know, she's gonna act blindsided. He's like, I'll be that guy. Like, I'll let her, you know, paint me that way. I don't give a shit.
He goes, I'm fine being the bad guy in this scenario. And it's the exact, like we say, the parallels to Scandival are so wild. He said, I'll be the villain. You can paint me as the villain for as long as you want. And Sandoval couldn't be painted the villain for 1 second.
Yeah. I know.
So that great way to start. Like, where the hell are the viewers for that? You get this peek into what we're going to see, and then they go back in time, like you said. You predicted this. You said 2 months earlier, right? Yeah. And we see a little glimpse.
Everyone's like, beep beep. Everyone's
What's that?
Getting picked up.
Oh, right. Okay, so it doesn't go into Carl and Lindsay's house just yet.
Not yet.
First. Okay. Yeah, they give us a little bit of fun of getting picked up in a huge Escalade by Danielle.
We're cooking with grease or whatever they said.
Yeah, we're cooking with grease. Gabby gets picked up, right? It's Gabby, Paige,
Sierra.
Yeah.
Danielle's driving. Kyle and Amanda are picking up our new cast member, West, which we will get into, but I love him.
West is so great. We already said on the Patreon how much we love West. He is one of the best casting decisions that they've made in a really long time. We talked about this. They've had a lot of flop guys come on this show.
Yeah.
They've had great success in casting Sierra. I thought Maya was amazing. Who else is new? Like,
I know a lot of people are saying bring back Andrea.
Yeah. Oh,
Andrea?
Yeah. He's great. Andrea. Yeah. Sierra, was relatively new. I mean, she's like 5th season or whatever, but they've done a good job, but the guys just cannot hang in there. And West, I feel like I have the most hope for him out of anyone I've seen in a really long time.
I know. I felt that way. And then I rewatched the episode with Jimmy, and almost immediately he was like, yeah, he's cool. Like, he was like immediately down. I was like, okay. I'm like, if he likes him, that says a lot, because he usually is like anti everyone.
I am too. I have a high bar for meeting new people, and West passed the test. He has a legitimately good sense of humor. I thought, like, actually funny stuff, but understated, dry humor.
He has a good, at least viewing from the first episode, he seems good-hearted.
Yep.
Not evil.
His story was good. Like, I liked that his family seems sweet. His dad is a cattle rancher, and then his mom is a librarian / OBGYN. It was like the perfect story. Maybe it was just OBGYN.
Yeah.
I don't know where I put the librarian.
One of our turtle cuties, did you see that comment? They said that they know his family and that they rule.
Yeah, and they were so glad that we loved West because they know him to be a great person. So he even has people in the real universe vouching for him.
Yeah. And then we get to see, they show the Rad House neon sign, and I was like, oh God. And they are not going to be on this first episode because they are going to the White House for 4th of July.
Can I be a little bit of a stinker about Lindsay?
Yeah.
Even if you're going to the White House, which I love the White House. I love running up there. Obviously, you and I were there on January 6th. I love it. But why? Why would you go there on the first weekend when you're filming your show? Like, you already had a horrible season 7 where you guys created such a fun suck when you got there and the house was like horrible. Yeah. Why would you ceding the storyline and ceding the power to all the fun-loving people in the house so that they have an amazing, fulfilling weekend with each other where they create these dynamics, they meet the new cast members, and then you come in like a bunch of wet blankets wearing American flag tees, and all you got from it was that you got to go to the 4th of July Abraham Lincoln Monument and
retrospective.
You know what I'm talking about? I love the White House. Like, that's amazing that they went there.
Lindsay's wearing like the stilt leg Uncle Sam costume.
Right, but their footage, like, they didn't even get, all they had was their iPhone footage. Like, hey babe, look where we are. Abraham Lincoln's behind me. Can you believe it? But it's like, it's the first weekend of your show. This is your show. You guys are the main cast members. Why would you go on a trip on the first weekend you're filming? I could never do that. I could never, if you and I were
Priorities
on a reality,
are bad.
If you and I were on a reality show, would we ever let the other cast, like, it's like, this is where your fame came from. Like, this is where you're going to have a make or break experience. I just can't believe that they left the first weekend so that they could all create these like dynamic, fun bonds that are going to last for the rest of summer.
It's true. It also just flashed to mind. I don't know if you know this, but you know our friend Trevor.
Of course, I know Trevor.
His parents got married in, I think it was 1976. I think.
Oh, the
centennial
yes.
or whatever.
Yeah,
I think that's when it was.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I think they got married on 4th of July. And his dad was dressed as Uncle Sam, and his mom was dressed as Lady Liberty.
No way. Send me the photo now.
I think
they
it's
got
like,
married July 4th, 1976.
I think so.
So that's okay. So if you're going, that's 200 years. That's our bicentennial, right? Because bi-weekly means 2 times in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
I think it was on the news.
That they were dressed as Uncle Sam. And I mean, say what you will about Uncle Sam, but honest, on July
Full
4th.
circle.
Say what you will about him. Obviously, he loves our taxes, and I don't know what the hell he's doing with them. But you have to honor Uncle Sam on July 4th. That's the one time you can dress up like Uncle Sam.
Yeah,
and
but,
Lady
like,
Liberty.
Yeah, I think Carl and Lindsay, they should have just gotten married on the spot right
Where
there.
did the end? Carl, no offense, this isn't offensive. He
He's
looks
tall.
kind of like Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
I mean, is that bad?
No, he's tall.
Yeah, in Abraham Lincoln. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, did they get married at the White House?
I think it was somewhere in LA.
Do you get a little sad that you and I might not make it to 2076?
Uh-huh. When are we going to die? We already talked about this before.
90. I was saying 97 if we keep doing good things and deeds. But if
I make it 100 years, I'll go to 2088.
28, we shouldn't talk about good things and like, because we've already had, you know what I mean? We should not. We got to really knock on wood for the rest of our lives.
Sure. Okay. So, anyways, Carl looks dead behind the eyes in every interaction with Lindsay.
And also, the Lindsay was like letting a little bit of this guy doesn't help me with the wedding.
Yeah.
He's just doing crunches in the corner, and I'm having to do the whole thing. And she's kind of smiling all the way through it. She's like, "It's our wedding, buddy. Get over here and stop doing crunches." And it's like, that's the storyline you wanted.
Yeah. And I'm like,
season.
Well, it's nobody's wedding because it's not happening, babes.
You keep saying that every time she talks about her wedding.
Time.
Can I also say that where we watched this, you and I were at a fun, beautiful party that our friend, threw at her house, and we were raucously laughing and having fun and like cheersing, and I just like that's the power of Summer House.
Yeah,
I was like laughing out loud at a lot of it's a funny cast.
Yeah,
almost like, I don't want to be a little stinker, but more sense of humor combined here than anything that we're getting on Vanderpump Rules. There's a lot of humor over on Vanderpump Rules, but I don't think they want to be funny right now.
Yeah. No, it's like so carefree, easy breezy. We get the introduction of West after this. Yeah, he has reverence for his mom, which we love. He says, because his dad's a cattle rancher and his mom's an OBGYN, he said, at dinner we talk about cows and vaginas and the levels of the grades of vaginal tears. He says, I was a 3.
I know. I said I thought he was a 3, but it was good that he confirmed it. And then he immediately, I loved what Wes did too. He was like, I'll make dinner.
Yeah.
I'll take the worst room in the house.
Yeah.
Please give me a tour. He really knew that he had to sing for his supper a little bit, I think.
Which is a great way to enter because you know your place.
I liked that.
Yeah.
And then when I don't remember exactly when it is, but when he starts to cook his dinner, because I think they're hungry instantly or
He's
whatever,
making quesadillas, which I love.
Yeah, I love that too. And we find that Sierra, never in her life before has she ever wanted to be in the kitchen around anybody who's cooking or ever offered to help.
Yeah.
But she's compelled by West's energy, and she spends like the 2 hours cooking chicken quesadillas with him. And she says that she loves that West is just asking her questions. He's being sweet to her. And this is the first genuine attraction that I've seen Sierra have since Austin. And I feel like we didn't even get to see, well, actually, no. On, I think, Winter House Season 1, we got to see Sierra be very entranced by Austin.
Right.
But I love that she instantly is compelled by West's chemistry. It was sweet.
Yeah. Amanda and Paige are shaken to their core. They're like, we've never seen her in the kitchen before. And then, it's a through line to this episode and probably the whole season, but Amanda's annoyed with Kyle. Their relationship does not seem to be going well.
No, they're talking about their eras. Danielle's like, I'm in my freedom era. They want Sierra to be in her hoe era. I forget what other eras. And Amanda goes, well, just so you know, I might be in my no patience era. And that specifically is for Kyle. And I watched this episode again, and I didn't really feel this the first time I watched it, but Amanda is so pissed at Kyle this entire episode. Doesn't really give him anything.
Yeah.
Like, there is so many small moments I saw where she's like, I don't want your clothes to touch mine.
Yeah.
And they're in the closet. When she wakes up with him, she's like, why the hell are you acting like we've been in this room before when we haven't or whatever? And he's like, whoa, this energy is not good.
She wants him dead.
Yeah.
They go to a carnival, which I don't think they've ever done on the show before.
This was fun.
Yeah.
A carnival vibe. I don't think we've seen this in the Bravo universe a lot.
Yeah.
And it was summer house energy and carnival energy were really intertwined. I was like,
It was
they
giving
have
summer fun.
Yeah, it was. They have carnival energy. I loved. I mean, if we're talking about it, like, they're fun at the carnival. Like, I like that. I watched how Kyle got Mon, the banana, the secret star of this episode. All he had to do was do an underhanded throw of a yellow ball into a bucket, and the guy instantly was like, "Here's Mon." And
That was a major prize.
That was a major prize. Normally, they don't give you those prizes unless you like pay $100.
Yeah. No,
So
it was
that
definitely tilted in their favor.
Yep.
But yeah, Kyle and Amanda have a conversation at the carnival where he's clearly drunk and being sweet, I think. And he's like, I feel like we're off track. I feel like whenever I travel and I come back, you're not happy to see me. Like, we're not on the same page. And she sort of like makes fun of him.
She goes, honey, or whatever. She says, just so you know, I'm living my life, taking care of the dogs and watching TV shows. So, like, I'm not that enthused when you get home. And that makes him sad. And he says, you and I are such a not attached at the hip couple that I would like to spend this summer, like, being closer to each other. But then what we learn later is that immediately Amanda says something like, well, then why don't we go on this carnival ride together? And Kyle says, no, I'm taking Mon instead. And he wants to ride the carnival with Mon as his seat partner on the Ferris wheel.
She's like, he's full of shit. He spent the entire carnival with Mon.
And then they show footage, and like Carl's got Mon riding on his shoulders. He's pointing out things to Mon, like they're doing all the different activities together.
It was a great cut. I think at that point, Jimmy was like, he was like, this is the best show on Bravo.
Yes. I mean, it's great. I mean, we laughed. Whoa, we've got a little bit of
I think
something.
that's Biden.
Is he in town?
He was last week.
Also, when Amanda is criticizing Kyle for being full of shit and saying he spent time with me, he didn't spend time with me when he could have. He spent time with Mon. They show Kyle's Instagram story, which is so funny. He goes, "Look who I'm spending time with. Mon and I are on a ride together." And then he pans over to Mon. And it's very funny. Like, you have to give Kyle just the benefit of the doubt there.
It's great. And then West and Ciara go on the Ferris wheel, and that's cute.
Yeah.
And then when they get home, they all have stuffed animals. Everybody won something.
Do you you assume that every carnival barker was just saying, you're on camera, we want this to look like the best carnival experience of all
Yeah, it
time.
was definitely juiced.
Yeah.
And then almost everyone joins Paige in bed. There's like 7 people in the bed.
Yes.
She couldn't be happier.
And she got the primary bedroom for the first time in summer house history. She said she's never not shared a room with someone her entire summer house time.
Yeah, that's true. And Kyle and Amanda take a shittier normal room, which I don't know if that's because maybe they're just being nice, but maybe they're like, we don't need the primary suite because we don't like each other.
Yeah, I thought it was more like, we're finally ready to not have the primary to ourselves, because they probably had almost every summer, spent every summer having that.
Yeah. This was one of my favorite parts. Gabby calls Lindsay and Carl, FaceTimes them, and for some reason she can't help but tell them how well things have been going so far, and that the house feels complete. The vibes couldn't be better.
She says, we're all just like looking around going, who's missing? And Lindsay goes, well, us.
She's basically like, it feels like no one's missing. No one else needs to be here.
It's like
the vibes have never been better. It's almost like other people in the past that were here that aren't here right now have ruined the vibe. Like she basically was saying that.
Yeah, you're saying like she goes, I don't know how to say this. They're being completely silent, like not loving what she's saying. She goes, it's a completely different house. It's like I don't know what Gabby was trying to convey there.
Because then when she's like, yeah, we're not there, she's like, well, obviously, like it was like she didn't even realize that what she was saying.
But also, okay, so speaking of Gabby, she didn't have a lot of moments besides this very unintentionally funny call that she has. But like she is, I guess, clearly on Carl and Lindsay's side, and they kind of just treat Gabby like she's a peripheral figure at the house.
Do you think that's like the main reason for her return is for her to be an ally?
Yeah,
because otherwise it's like...
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought Maya was a much more engaging cast member than Gabby, and I wasn't sure.
Because, I think it's Gabby and Sam were the only real allies to Lindsay, and they nixed Sam and Corey.
Did Corey also get the boot?
I guess.
I mean, Winter House is now, I guess, considered a full-blown flop.
Canceled or on pause?
On pause. I mean, until there's some, I guess, reason for it to ever come back. But yeah, I thought that was a very funny phone call. And it's like we just see Carl and Lindsay dressed in their, American flag T-shirts, just kind of just so bummed out. And that's what I was saying. Like they lost out on a formative time at the start of the summer,
which I love, actually.
I mean, it sucks for them, but.
And then they reveal that there's another man who is coming, Jesse Solomon, who is tall. And we talked about this last week, but it's almost like there's Bizarro Carl and Bizarro Kyle.
Yes.
With Jesse and West.
Yeah, they are alternate versions. It's like when they were casting, they were like, who the hell can we get to stay on this show and be pivotal friends in this group? Well, what if we got an approximation of Kyle and an approximation of Carl?
Yeah, it's kind of perfect.
It seems to be working for the most part right now.
Yeah, West, I'm like, I didn't think you could find an approximation of Kyle because he's 1 in a million, in my opinion. But they found a very good, Yes. So far, I'll say West has had no red flags to me as a viewer who is very skeptical of new cast members. He's not shown even 1 second of weirdness, and that's hard. If you're keeping a little secret stinker in you, it's really hard not to let little moments of that shine through. So I think we're almost in the clear with West. I know. I love the moment when he said, because they make a joke. The setup is that Jesse is really tall and he's going to come in and steal the thunder. West has gotten good attention from the ladies, but now once a tall guy comes in, he's going to steal everything.
But he's being playful about it. He's not saying like, I hate this guy. He's like, I've made some good headway with Sierra and I really like her, but what's going to happen when this very handsome, tall man comes in? But he's doing it in a great way. Just
funny and not douchey.
Yes.
He says at one point, he's like, once a girl told me that I read tall, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah, that was nice too. Yeah, and he's not doing anything about like ownership of Sierra. He's not even like letting any of that factor into this.
Yeah, no. And I mean, Jesse doesn't necessarily have red flags immediately, but in the previews, they show that it's going to become an issue that he's hitting on Paige.
Yeah. Paige did dispel a little bit of that mystery on Watch What Happens Live, where she was like, Jesse is a nice, sweet, wonderful boy, which makes me think that they never saw any red flags from him. Okay. And she also said that Craig wasn't that bothered that Jesse was hitting on her, so I don't know if that amounts to a lot.
Right.
Based off her response.
Right. Then I did enjoy Kyle confides in Paige about Amanda, which I love that we've crossed that bridge, because it used to be that Amanda would confide in Paige, and Paige would be like, you can't marry him. Yep. Like, this is terrible.
And Hannah was even the worst, would go even further than Paige and say this is absolutely one of the worst relationships in the world. So, I love that Paige has warmed to Kyle, and now she can be a confidant to him. Yeah.
And later, Paige then sort of confides in Amanda that Kyle talked to her.
Yeah, and Kyle says, so it's basically, Kyle got his story across to Amanda instantly by confiding in Paige, but he just says that he, in a harsher words than he said to Amanda, he says, I am scared shitless by making the next moves, in terms of a family life with Amanda, because we are not on the same page about anything. Work, life. They show a flashback of Amanda and him, and he's going, we have a meeting on Monday. And she goes, can we make these meetings on Tuesday? Sort of like Garfield energy.
Yeah.
And so I think ultimate, and Paige says this, I think, to Amanda, but she says, or in her confessional, she goes, ultimately, Kyle is starting to reckon with the fact that this is his wife's personality. Amanda was always this way.
Yeah.
And she hasn't changed. And he's like, has this, I guess, go-getter work ethic or whatever. And he says, he resents Amanda for not having that with him. But then Amanda says that when Kyle is stressed out at work, he has that go-getter energy. But when he's stressed out at work, he just takes it out on Amanda. Like she gets the brunt of all of his stress when he comes home.
Yeah.
And then pins it on other stuff in their relationship when she thinks he's just stressed out and taking it out on her.
Right. Amanda says that they haven't been doing well since she took that negative pregnancy test on Winter House.
Yes.
Which would then that was March. So April, May, June. It's been like 3-4 months.
That's a long time. I mean, I'm not speaking personally, but like 6 months. I mean, I'm sure maybe that's in store.
Half a year.
Half a year where you're just not doing good with your significant other. Like, wow. I mean, maybe I'm just very lucky, but that seems like rough.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they have a strong disagreement here about what is actually going on in their relationship. If Amanda says it's one thing and he says it's one thing, they really need to talk about that and meet in the middle of what this actually is.
Yeah, she says he's full of shit.
And that's kind of a bad sign too, that she's already counted on what his response is, and she already knows what it is, and she already has the counter to it, and won't even validate that his initial grievance in their relationship.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign.
She just kind of was like flippantly talking shit to anyone who would listen.
Yeah.
And I was like, not to be like, respect your husband, but I'm like, it feels like she was like gossiping about like her own relationship with her husband.
Yeah, and he was sort of just sitting there kind of sipping coffee in the kitchen, and I forget what she was saying. She was like, Kyle went on that Ferris wheel with Mon, and then I never talked to him again the rest of the carnival. And Kyle's just right there kind of just taking it all. It
just feels like it's like, you guys are going to need to meet in the middle, otherwise this is doomed.
I will say, if we're like analyzing it, I do think Kyle needs to accept that Amanda has not changed in my eyes. And I'm not saying she's like a bed bug. That's like her aesthetic. Like she cherishes time on the couch, or homebody, right? Isn't that what people used to say? That's not a bad word.
Yeah.
Like there are people like that. I'm like 70% that.
Yeah.
And I think that he knew that going in, and he is a worker. Like he loves to work and strives or whatever. But I'm not sure why he can't accept that about Amanda at this point.
Right.
I think it's only because they work together, and he sees firsthand that she wants to have meetings on Tuesday at 11 a.m. instead of Monday at 8. And it's like, well, you don't have to witness all these. Like, I don't know.
Maybe
like, there's
they
a way
should not work together, and then their office is connected to their apartment too, so it's maybe all just too much.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, and especially if Amanda, like I didn't want to fully say that, but especially if Amanda still wants to work at Loverboy, which I assume she does, but as like co-owners of this company or whatever, I'm sure they could figure out a way for Amanda to be active but adhere to her own schedule. I mean, it's Kyle's company.
Right. Yeah. I'm afraid.
You're afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I am. I guess I'm.
They haven't been married very long.
Yeah. I mean, if we're really saying it, I think it's not a good sign that 2 years in, they've had 6 months where they have not enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah. I mean, I always, whenever shit goes awry, like, we didn't talk about it, but Portia from Atlanta's already getting divorced.
I know.
And joining the show again.
I know. I'm so excited for Atlanta.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Portia. Apparently it's Portia, Kenya, Shamia. Do you remember Shamia?
Uh-huh.
And then 3 new cast members.
Okay. Yeah, Marlo out.
Marlo's out. Sonya's out. We kind of predicted this. I mean, Marlo flopped last season. She did not give an authentic storyline. I'm excited for Atlanta. I think it'll be so good. They need Phaedra. I know it's a disservice. I know it's horrible to do to Candy, but Phaedra is at the top of the world. She's got that traitor's glow.
Yeah.
And she's got the Married to Medicine glow. It's Phaedra's renaissance. And now
I feel like the world somehow, even though Atlanta's like the highest rated housewives ever, I feel like more people are aware of Phaedra through the traders somehow, or like maybe people that don't usually watch Housewives watch that.
You know what that really is though? It's that Bravo.
Bravo.
What the hell? I'm like tired. Bravo cultivates, I say this all the time, better talent than 90% of all reality shows. So when you get Pilot Pete and whoever else like Flava Flav on a reality show, you see a Bravo talent there, Kate Chastain and Phaedra. Like, who the hell are these people? It's because Bravo has premium talent. So Phaedra is a one-of-a-kind talent, but she's also almost par for the course in terms of the talent we're used to. She's in the upper echelon.
Yeah.
But still, it's more indicative of Bravo's talent than it is just Phaedra being she's a shining star. I'm not trying to negate it, but
maybe
I'm just saying.
they can at least make her friend of or something. She can drop in because Married to Medicine is also in Atlanta. Right?
Yeah, no,
So-
I don't think there would be a conflict because that season is currently airing now, and even if it was a conflict, I mean, I
could be
have her
interesting.
back on Atlanta.
But yeah, whenever I see these marriages crumble in short succession, like with Kyle and Amanda, I'm like, maybe like because they already had problems leading up to their marriage and then immediately after, and I'm like, then why did we do it?
Yeah, I agree, and I'm trying to think about them really, and like if they did decide to divorce, like I love their marriage and I love their love, and we've seen it. Well, it's been a beautiful love story to the point where it's like one of the best engagements I've ever seen, and one of the most.
I cried.
Yeah, one of the most powerful love stories in Bravo. People don't like to say that because Kyle cheated, but I still think they overcame a lot to get to where they're at. But I also think that like I would be so sad, but if they're both miserable and they do it properly, I guess what am I trying to say? That it's like I will still cherish both of them, and I think they'll both be happier, and it'll be okay if they get divorced. I mean, I'm not so traumatized by divorce, and so it's like I don't know. I'm not gonna be that shocked if it happens, and I don't think that they're gonna be like miserable for a long time.
Yeah, it could go south real fast though with the finances.
Like very hard to separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had that prenup too. I forget. There were like funny elements to it. Like,
oh, right. Because she wouldn't they chastised her for not like looking up what a prenup was for a long time. Do you think that there's ever a chance that it could be amicable?
I mean, she like hates him already. So if they were actually breaking up, it could be bad.
What if he went to the lawyer's room to like discuss their divorce, and he opened the door and he had Mon dressed up in a business suit to finalize?
Mon is the judge.
And then he makes instantly Amanda starts laughing and they get on the good page for the divorce.
No, 'cause she hates Mon. She'd be like, this is a conflict of interest.
You're right. So that would actually not be good, right?
Right.
Okay. So wait, I feel like I just said the divorce minute or whatever, but like if we'd be sad that they parted ways, there's still. I'm trying to justify why we get so sad about divorce if two people are unhappy and they want to be separate.
I mean, it's just we didn't get to. Maybe they'll come through and this will just be a rough patch or whatever. But like, on the other token, so like. I don't know if we're going to talk maybe a little bit about Beverly Hills after this, but
we should. Speaking of divorce,
exactly.
Right.
They show montages of Kyle and Mauricio, and there's no way to say it except that like, even if they do get divorced, which they will.
Yes, they will.
They had a very successful marriage.
I know.
Like you watch it and you're like, they liked each other and loved each other for so long. I've actually never seen a better marriage in my life, even if it ends.
I think Erica says that to Kyle at some point. There's a clip of it. She says, "What are you?" I think it's Erica.
Yeah.
She says, "Your marriage is a success. 30 years of marriage is a full success story. The fact that you've were able to handle that and endure that, and you've raised your children and they love you for life. It's like that is a full success. And people think only a successful marriage is you're dead after each other, 6 months after holding hands, or you die in the same bed like The Notebook. It's like that's not at all. Like she needs to consider this a success. You're so right.
Yeah, because they show the white parties year after year after year, and they were like horny for each other.
Yes,
they were like having fun together, partying, ride or die, for each other. There's a reason why everyone was obsessed with them. And even if they break up, which they are, and it sucks, I'm like, having like 25 good years is so much better than having
Yeah.
50 like mid years.
Yeah, you're right. It's 25, not 30. I fully agree, and I think that's the sentiment I'm bringing into this divorce talk.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, yeah, I feel the same way about Kyle and Mauricio. I'm like, I think you both will be happier
Yeah.
post.
And they're still young enough that they could have an entirely new third phase of life or whatever. Like,
Yeah, well, do you want to? But I mean, we
that was pretty much it for Summer House. I
yeah,
think.
we talked about Summer House. That was
Yeah.
good, and it's great. And the fact that I'll just say to end this, the fact that Carl and Lindsay were not even present except at the White House in little small snippets, and then the fact that their energy is going to come into the house on an already dynamic group that we already had fun watching, that's going to put it to the next level. Like,
Yeah.
there is so much good shit that is going to happen this season of Summer House. So
Can't wait.
it was the best case scenario for the first episode.
It was really good, despite the ratings.
Despite whatever, like, yeah, that is bad. People have to watch Summer House. Okay, so now let's talk about Beverly Hills. I mean, really, the separation is like the biggest thing to say besides
Yeah.
the wonderful white party.
Right. With planned by Kevin, Beverly Hills she.
Kevin Lee is back. I think he got sort of uncanceled in the Bravo universe. I'll just say it, right?
Yeah.
And Kyle normally has that one party planner that she uses all the time.
Oh,
I
yeah.
forget his name.
Yeah.
He had been the
Was
white
it like Glenn?
Glenn.
Why do I know his name? That's so stupid.
No, you saw Glenn for so many years. You saw Glenn for 13 years. It makes sense that you knew his name. I forgot his name, but yeah, she had Glenn, but she was like, Glenn, I'm sorry. I'm planning, a huge party at SoFi
The
Stadium.
SoFi is out of his scope.
I gotta bring in Kevin Lee, who is the inspiration for Father of the Bride, Martin
Right.
Short.
And then for some reason they put Kyle in big letters on the dance floor.
Now, how could he have actually done that without Kyle's approval? Do you think that he just knew in his heart of hearts that Kyle secretly would not be too mad if her name was on it? Because that's a big deal.
It's just Kyle, not Kyle and Mauricio. And Erica's performing and it says Kyle.
It just says Kyle.
Yeah, it's not her birthday.
Yeah. So you think that Kevin Lee just took that
It
upon
was
himself?
weird. I don't know why she would even want that.
And she goes, "How easy would this be to mop it up or whatever?" Right? Like,
Yeah.
So for the white party, I was starstruck by the cost of it and the glamour of it. Like,
Yeah.
it did what it was intended to do. I mean, you brought Kevin Lee. Did you think it was interesting how many digs at Lisa Kyle wanted to bring in
I
for
know.
the final
I was
moments?
surprised she like said her name and everything. I did feel like the whole thing was a little over the top though, because the white party has such humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And that's when their family was good. And
Right.
now it's like you lost the plot.
Yeah, it could be sort of almost a, I was going to say portrait of Dorian Gray, but I don't think that's accurate at all. But
We can work that in every week.
it's like, as the fame and clout and success of Kyle's life blossoms or whatever, and that's the white party,
Yeah.
their marriage degraded
the
to the point where
chart is going in opposite
where
directions.
Mauricio didn't even know. He thought this was going to be in the parking lot of SoFi Stadium or something.
I love
And
that like playback of her telling him everything and then him like just not paying attention and not knowing what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, so I yeah, you're right. It was over the top.
That was
and-
very husband. I don't know if you get a lot of relationship memes, but it'll be like me after telling my husband our plans for the 5th time, and it's the Trump. You're just telling me this for the first time.
Every time I get those, I laugh. It's like, you said we were going to IKEA today, or whatever. Yeah, I
You're
totally
like,
do that.
absolutely not.
Yeah. But dude,
So yeah, it felt a little just kind of like, I understand it's like the finale episode, so they went big or whatever, but I have reverence for the white party and their old house and how she'd be running around with like curlers in her hair and like lighting candles, and it was just like normal.
and Paul would be up in a tree, sort of like a Puck-esque
Yeah.
Shakespearean
Iconically.
Midsummer's Night.
But it would like always end with like they showed in
Yes.
the montage like them jumping on like a
Yeah.
float in the pool and like making out, and you're just like, what a fun family.
Or like the Chili's to go like rappers or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, yeah, I do agree. It was
Yeah.
more of a backyard family gathering.
Yeah, like barbecue vibes.
Yeah.
And then it got bigger and bigger, and then this was just like, what even is this?
True. I mean, it did feel just like Kyle wanted the biggest finale of all time, and they thought it was a lackluster season, so they wanted some extra mustard on the final party. I did like it for a little bit of Erica Jane redemption. It felt like the final word on Erica Jane hate a little bit. It was
Yeah.
like, look at me now. I'm performing my ass
When
off.
she walked up in the hood,
Yeah.
the hooded robe.
And like people would be, praying for her downfall at that moment or hoping that she flops, like whoever, like Sutton was probably like, I hope she like trips up there. Denise hated it. She's like, she's going to lip sync up there. But I thought Erica performed her ass off.
It was good. I wish that we saw her in Vegas.
Me too. Is it over?
I don't know.
Oh, I would love to.
I mean, the word was that it was not a success, but
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I came away from the season being like on Erica's side again.
Yeah.
I know that's horrible and controversial, but
Kyle was sobbing after her performance.
I thought it was like what they were all saying, whatever they were saying. Like, this is Erica's comeback. She's fully back.
Dorit said she's a real showman.
Yeah, it was cool. And then they had just had like 20 minutes of that, and then it's the 20 minutes of 3 months later, the Scandival, like cameras up, right?
Yep.
Everyone reacting to the news. And I think what Kyle says to the family, I don't know, did you see the Buying Beverly Hills clip where Mauricio also tells his side of things to the family
I think
as
I
well?
watched a little bit of it on TikTok. And yeah, again, I need to look into more about what the dynamic is of who makes that show versus like if Kyle was pissed about that or if they're in cahoots on that other show. Like, I'm not sure. But yeah, so I was saying I was watching it right when you got here, and I was saying that I wish, this has been going on for so long that, they haven't really told us tell us what's been going on, and so it's just been like this piecemeal of information over the past like year or whatever. And I'm like, this scene with the kids at any other time, if I hadn't just been hearing about it for so long, would have been devastating to me. Like, I would have been so saddened by it. And I was kind of just like, it didn't affect me as much. I mean, obviously I was sad when like Portia was crying and stuff like that. And I have reverence for this family, but it just was such a long time coming that I was kind of like, yeah, like, of course.
Numb to it.
Yeah.
Why didn't they do the Summer House edit and give us a piece of Portia crying? Did the timing not work out where they couldn't edit that properly? Because that would have obviously been a very enticing start to Beverly Hills to have that conversation happen first and then watch the season, because then we'd be looking at it through Carl and Lindsay eyes, like their breakup on Summer House.
Yeah, I think it must have happened later.
I think the main difference, if I'm not completely wrong, was that in the conversation that Kyle has, she says, we're still going to live in the house, but we're kind of going to be a little like living separate lives. We're going to give each other some space and then see what happens. But right now we're sort of separated, living within the same house. It was a very minor step towards separation. And then in Buying Beverly Hills, I think Mauricio was saying something like, yeah, I'm going to live in Aspen for a while. And like, so fully undercutting what Kyle said, that they're going to be having joint lives in the house. I think that was the main difference.
Yeah. And then I guess the big bombshell was then Kyle's confessional, where they ask, what happened? What was the final straw, basically? And she says, there were things that happened that I couldn't forgive or move past from, which she's never said anything like that before.
No. And she says, and I couldn't get my trust back with him.
Yeah.
Which is the nicest way to say that Mauricio cheated.
Yeah.
And I would presume multiple times. And after all of those indiscretions, she could never forgive him and doesn't trust him anymore. And I think the reason why Kyle has not said this and won't put this in any of the press materials or anything is for the sake of his daughters.
Yeah. I know. Well, then it makes you think, so assuming where there's smoke, there's fire, all these years, every time people said stuff like that, do you think it was probably true and she just was willing to ignore it?
I do think so.
It's so sad.
It's very sad. I think that Kyle is very noble for not wanting to sully the reputation of her children's father. But unfortunately, I think if major things happen in your family unit that are due to someone's actions, you have to be honest about what happened, because then like there's no rationale for what they're going through, and it's just like they don't understand. And like you could start to blame Kyle for this or something. It's like I think that they need to know the truth, and Mauricio should have consequences for his actions. I mean, for actively cheating on their mom. It's a horrible thing, but it has to be factored into Mauricio's character, and then they decide whether or not they can forgive him. I mean, this happens a lot. This is a very common occurrence in marriages.
Sure. I also saw that Farrah broke off her engagement.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I don't know if she was like, well, if mom can do it, I can do it.
Wow, I did not know that at all. Yeah, and the scene is sad because Portia's still young, and like the other ones are sort of misty-eyed, but Portia has like the child reaction that like her parents are getting divorced or on the road to
divorce. It makes me feel old as fuck. She was like 2 years old on the first season.
I kept forgetting how old Portia was the entire time because we've just like seen her grow up on Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
I thought that bombshell was not like reported on enough or like taken for what it was.
I know. I feel like she's going to have to answer to that at the reunion, but I would be surprised if she would go into it at all. I feel like she's still going to be like, because of my like family, I don't want to talk about that, you know. I also, where was it? Kyle and Morgan were posing on a step and repeat somewhere, and Morgan had her hand on Kyle's hip and was like rubbing the side of her body while they were posing.
Oh, well,
I was like,
who knows, what's going to happen there. What do you think?
Well, I sent it to multiple friends, and both, I think your wife, Megan, and another one of our friends was like, imagine if we posed for a photo and I did that too. Like, it's fucking weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess until they clarify, I just like do not care. I think I do not put it past Morgan that she is purposefully creating provocative scenarios so to keep this guessing game going.
Sure.
But I don't know why, if you're really going to do this, everyone would love it and we'd be so happy. Like, just say it.
Right.
Like, you're out of a relationship. But the mystique is what is annoying to me, because either way, we're going to be fine with it.
Yeah. I think Andy asked at the reunion, they show a clip where she's like, would you date Morgan? And the cut is like her going,
yeah,
like thinking about it, like maybe.
Yeah. So
I'm excited for the reunion. Actually, I think this might be a case of the reunion being better than the season, but I don't know.
I think so too. I think because that they are going to focus on the things that really matter and not focus on Anna Marie's. It's distilled to the powerful moments, and we're going to enjoy this reunion a lot. It seems like a lot of stuff has happened. Hopefully Andy gets the proper answer to whatever's going on with Morgan, Wade, and Kyle. And yeah, and I want to say that at the start of Beverly Hills, I sort of forgot Kyle's impact on me personally. And I've like come around on thinking Kyle is one of my favorite housewives.
Wow.
In the top 20.
Okay.
I like fully had a resurgence on Kyle.
Welcome
And
back.
I think I discounted her power,
her legacy,
and I feel bad about that. I feel like Kyle is having a moment now, and she's going through some real hard shit, and so I'm excited.
Bring back. I feel like it would be so powerful if post divorce her and LVP became friends again.
This could be the bridge back. Lisa would say, do you remember when I planted that magazine in Brandy's luggage to go to wherever that trip was?
Yeah.
Well, I was doing that as a favor to you because I knew Mauricio was cheating, and
I mean, Lisa should start planning for a new phase, I think.
She would be utilized much better on Beverly Hills than she is on Vanderpump Rules now, because they actively would want to be friends with Vanderpump there, whereas the cast of Vanderpump Rules doesn't necessarily want to be friends with Lisa, where they're going over all the time and talking to her. So it's time to go back to Beverly Hills for Lisa. If she still wants her time in the sun, which I think she does.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if she did do that, but it would be amazing.
I'd be a little mad at her for being a hypocrite for missing that final reunion about Lucy, Juicy Apple Goosey. There are so many people who have dealt with so much worse and gone to the reunion than Lisa that was so shitty of her.
Yeah. Whack. I mean, the end.
Whack as hell. Okay, well, I feel good about our time.
We fit it all in.
Management skills, Vanderpump, Beverly Hills, Summer House, and I feel like we didn't do any short shrifting on any of them, right?
No, I think we said it all.
Yeah. Okay, good. And
we mentioned it all.
So you feel favorable in terms of our impact this episode, right?
I think so.
Okay. Me 2. I give us a B plus.
Okay. What about an A?
Wow. Okay. I was waiting for what you would say. A minus.
Okay.
So let's just do that business at the back. What do we call that? Turtle time. What do we call
Rate
it?
and review.
Yeah, rate.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, because every time we ask our little turtle cuties to say how much they love us, we get like 3 or 4 reviews that are so sweet. We only have gotten 2 1-star reviews, and one is the worst thing I've ever read in my life.
Really?
One of the meanest, mean and horrible, and it sort of goes really against our philosophy of only saying something nice in the reviews. But I don't want to.
Now I'm gonna have to go look.
I didn't want to entice people to go look at our really bad review, but if you did enjoy this, no matter how much you enjoyed it, obviously we love 4 and 5 stars, but if you enjoyed this and you spent almost 3 hours with us, let us know on Apple Reviews or Spotify, because those really bump us up in the ratings.
Yes.
And we've never said this because we don't want to have schadenfreude and we don't want to be little stinkers, but I think we are officially, now we can say, we are the last Turtle Time standing.
Is that true? When's the last episode of the
December
other one?
14th.
Wow, not looking good.
I mean, so after we went to BravoCon, which is around November, and we sort of started to usurp their fan base by going to Spotify and Apple headquarters and getting their audience.
Someone's knocking on the door.
Really?
No,
Who?
it's Ramona.
So they have not had an episode since December 14th. This is not slander. This is not being mean. It's objective fact that they have not had an episode since December 14th. You can look at their Turtle Time. They had no rationale for why they stopped. It wasn't like we're taking a 2-month break.
Right.
So I mean, they could always pick it up, but for now, as of now, we're the last Turtle Time. It was
Well, we welcome all listeners from over there to us. We have no intention of stopping.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, obviously it's probably shocking when they go to their podcast app and Turtle Time was, our Turtle Time was injected into their feed. But whatever, if you do enjoy this, please, rate and review. And then if you need even more Turtle Time in your life, we're having the time of our lives over on our Patreon, the Villa Rosa VIP program with some of the most beautiful people you've ever seen in your life, our Villa Rosa VIPs.
It's true.
And we recap Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning, and we just got to Vanderpump Rules season 4, episode 2.
Yeah,
right? New Blood.
It's good shit.
It's so good, and it's so easy and carefree and fun to talk about that. And it's also so fun to go back and look at it through this new lens that we're at now, this post-Scandal lens.
You almost appreciate it more than ever before.
Yeah. So that's it. Is that do we ask of anything else of our little turtle cuties at the end?
I think that's all. Yeah, we love you.
We love you so much. Go to sleep now. I don't know where you're at, but just take a little nap. And then the next time, potentially when you wake up, there will be some new form of Turtle Time in your life. If you just go about life listening to Turtle Time, going to sleep, and then waking up hoping there's more Turtle Time.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
We love you so much. Good night.
Bye.